A huge crowd has stormed the capital, packed to the brim for some massive royal spectacle. Turns out everyone here has one reason to catch a glimpse of the Arcan Kingdom's first prince, Noko. And this official with the most punchable face I've ever seen steps up and declares that his punishment is set. Noko drops to his knees. Banishment from the entire kingdom is the sentence slammed into his life. They're calling it garbage disposal. But don't let that cute little asterisk fool you. Guys, this is way darker than it sounds. Meanwhile, this girl in full pirate gear lounges on a raft and watches intently as her pet turtle drifts beside her. Noko jerks to speak up, but his hands are cinched hard behind his back, locking him in place. He's totally losing it, screaming that some crazy misunderstanding is the whole problem. But one guard's boot stomps him into silence so fast you'd think due process is a joke apparently. This slick official swoops in close, sneering, "Former Highness?" like it's the most insulting thing he could possibly say. This minister Shred shuts him down with a glance that basically shouts, "I framed you." Shred leans in and lays it all out. Noko is guilty of 2 huge crimes, and for his first attack, he smirks and jabs our boy right on the forehead like he's trying to belittle him. He says this crime is nothing, just proof that he can use his one-of-a-kind skill. Apparently, these aren't just skills, they're holy powers, the heavens handpicked for the chosen few. But the moment Noko's special skill shows up, everyone around him recoils like it's straight up creepy and unsettling. His power is called asterisk recycle, and it only kicks in when he's dealing with literal trash and busted broken junk. Shred calls it a forbidden art. Then he drags the Kingdom Wow through the mud with real subtle insults. He already knows it, owning up that it's his power that makes everyone hate him. That's exactly why he spent his whole life fighting tooth and nail to never ever lay a hand on the damn thing. Noko pleads, shaking with desperation, insisting his research is the only thing that can secure the kingdom's future, because he watched the pollution surge from the garbage, choking the air and putting their entire way of life in real danger. So that's why he was hunting for a way to put that overflowing trash to work. For a split second, the whole crowd does still like they're actually hearing him, and maybe, just maybe, buying it. But this regal-looking man on a balcony above doesn't just watch. He barks one command, and everyone freezes into silence. He tells Shred, "Don't let Noko's sophistry bend the people. No way, we can't let that happen." Shred immediately drops into a bow before Geostra, Highness on full display, practically thrilled to get back on script. This Geo-strong dude looks like he's seconds away from snapping, like he can barely stomach this whole mess. He's exposed as the second prince, and with a flash of confidence, he declares everything his brother said is pure lies. He insists he watched the entire incident unfold right in front of him, his own eyes. No guesswork. They say this incident was Noko unleashing his forbidden skill, trying to murder a girl named Rose right before everything went sideways. Our boy gets totally blindsided, scrambling to get a word out before he can even defend himself. But Shred just kept grandstanding, officially announcing his 2 great crimes, flexing that creepy skill, and even attempting murder. That second charge detonates the crowd's patience. 1 second they're watching, the next they're howling for his head. With a smug grin, Geostra declares that this is proof the recycle skill is cursed, and he orders immediate punishment. Before Noko even has time to register the betrayal, the guards pounce and yank him into their grips. He thrashes and screams, insisting it's all a misunderstanding, that he's innocent, and they've got the wrong guy. But before his plea can even land, a rock slams his head, hurled straight from the enraged crowd. This mob goes completely feral, screaming at the great center to break free and escape the kingdom, and our boy just looks shattered, swallowing his fate like a funeral bell as the chance to banish him echoes through the air. And so the guard seize Noko and march him straight through the jeering crowd, kicking off his official banishment. They march him along a long, lonely stretch of coast, hauling him toward a remote fortress hunched by the sea. His final stop? A scrawny log raft floating in an ocean packed wall to wall with trash. Yeah, real classy, those guys. Geostra, the forever supportive brother, strides up and delivers one last, painfully condescending farewell. He insists this whole sham is pure mercy, especially since Noko once wore the crown. As a final parting gift, he hands his brother the keys to this whole sea of trash so he can rule it. Even the guards can't hold it in. They're bursting into laughter and roasting him for his kingdom of garbage. Shred buttered up Geostra, praising his compassion like it was a legendary performance that lifted the soldiers' spirits. With a grin so punchable it's basically a challenge. Geostra drinks in every moment of his victory like it's pure victory-flavored gold. Nokul's just dumped alone in filth trapped inside a real skull, surrounded by drifting junk floating everywhere. From the shore, the two villains smirk like they own the ocean, because they're already sure he won't make it out there alive. This tiny raft gets shoved farther out into the open sea, ripping our boy away from everything he's ever called home. Cracked, bruised, and barely holding on, Nokul scrambles in panic, begging to understand how everything exploded into this nightmare. His thoughts snap back to that moment. He wasn't chasing glory. He was just trying to use his skill the right way and make it count. We're right there with him at his old stomping grounds, the kingdom's gigantic fifth waste disposal site, huge and stinking and impossible to miss. He hunched over his project, obsessively stitching broken scraps back together with laser focus. With a grin, he lifts his finished masterpiece high, an entire helmet forged from recycled junk. He snaps it onto his head to test it, completely oblivious that someone's been watching him the whole time. But a voice slices through the air, Your Highness, and he whips around, stunned to see a young girl rushing toward him. It's Rose, the Prime Minister's daughter, the exact same girl he'd just been accused of trying to murder. Rose tells him she just knew he'd be right here, grinning like he'd already won. Nokul, still rocking that DIY helmet, can't make sense of why she's showing up at a literal dump. She snaps right away like, "Excuse me, what do you mean? Why am I even here?" Turns out, he ditched a crucial study session, so she had to hunt him down herself. And wow, that dedication is absolutely real. She flicks her eyes to his setup and deadpans. "So you're building another one of your weird contraptions?" With zero faith in our boy at all. He grins and brags that his helmet has a built-in magic transmitter ready to blast his big brain invention for everyone to see. With that, he blasts commands to a levitation contraption bolted onto a battered old broom, then, whoosh, it rockets upward, powered by the magic gizmo he slapped on top, spinning like a possessed Roomba while it snatches up the light trash, and he grins like it's pure victory. But he admits it's got limits. He can barely hoist anything heavier than a barrel without straining. Rose clamps her hand over her mouth, fighting for dear life not to burst out laughing at his pathetic little invention. He yells her name as she strides right past him, straight for the biggest heap of junk. Then she lifts a hand, flashes a fancy ring, and starts chanting a spell. Suddenly, a brutal gust of wind whips around her, spiraling faster and faster, and starts to build into something unstoppable, and then she unleashes her divine squall spell way crazier than flying around on some broom. Nokul's jaw drops. She realizes she's facing high-level wind magic, and the shock hits her hard. Her spell snaps on like a miracle, yanking every scrap of heavy garbage off the ground in seconds, like it never even had weight when. With a smug grin, she swears she'll clean everything up without using a single scrap of junk. She basically tells him, "Look, real magic just works way faster, thanks for playing." And then she cuts the conversation with a sharp no. And Nokul can only gape in pure awe because the Prime Minister's daughter is on a whole different level. Rose casually flicks her hand like, "This is child's play if you want. I can teach you too." Nokul can't help it. He scratches his head and admits, "Yeah, magic is way more convenient, but..." Then he whips around, clutching his DIY helmet, and tells him straight up that's not even what he's hunting for. This absolutely blindsides Rose. She just freezes and stares at him like he suddenly sprouted a second head. She demands to know what on earth a prince could be chasing that matters more than magic itself. His mind snaps back to every noble who ever sneered at him for that useless, filthy skill. And Rose keeps pressing forward, demanding to know what could possibly matter more than a royal's dignity and the crushing force behind it. Nokul's face snaps ice-cold serious because he's about to unleash a massive truth bomb. He finally admits he's never really gotten a real chance to explain himself to anyone until now. He snaps around to face her and, at last, spills his big, trash-fueled dream like it's the only plan that matters. He breaks it down. Those endless wars crushed the kingdom so hard it started churning out magical weapons by the ton. Everyone was sprinting after the next big score: hotter blades, tougher armor, anything that made them stronger. But once that gear wore out or snapped, they tossed it aside without a second thought. And somehow it just kept piling up, these massive, ever-growing mountains of magical junk stacking higher and higher. This stuff won't break down, it's actively choking the land, poisoning everything in it, and wiping out the wildlife. He still remembers rushing to warn the royal court only for the ministers to shove him aside, obsessed with today's profits and blind to tomorrow's disaster. So he showed up at the dump in person, refusing to stop until he cracked a solution nobody else could find. Staring into his own reflection, he declares that even what's been thrown away can still find new purpose and spark big potential. With total grit, he swears to guard the land his mother loved, no matter how much the entire kingdom turns on him. And his huge hero speech instantly fries Rose's composure, leaving her blushing hard and totally flustered. Rose scrambles to undo it right away, swearing up and down she doesn't think he's cool at all. Nokel's gripping his helmet as he blurts out, "Did you say something? Because romance? Yeah, that's not his strong suit at all." Then his face snaps from confused to pure unfettered terror. He screams at Rose to move, but she just stands there, totally frozen in confusion because her massive wind spell just whipped up a literal garbage avalanche right behind her. She whips around at last and lets out a perfectly timed, spine-chilling shriek of horror. Nokel finally realizes her flashy magic didn't just backfire. It's what cracked the whole junk pile wide open. He charges at her in a desperate sprint, knowing he'll never reach her in time. Even that tiny flying broom butt gets totally smashed as a wave of scrap metal crashes. With every door slammed shut, he finally reaches for his forbidden skill and forces the junk to obey. He keeps sprinting, throwing himself between her and the worst of it. This kid hurls a shattered shield like it can actually stop that monstrous pile of trash. He shot out his hand and shouted, "Recycle," dumping every ounce of his focus into that collapsing pile. His eyes flare wide the moment the power grabs him, and he's left staring like, "Wait, what's about to happen to me?" Then boom. A storm of trash rips off the ground, floats into the air, and stitches itself into something absolutely massive. A gigantic handmade monster made from pure scrap metal rips out of the trash like it's got a death wish, because of course it does. From the trash pile, a full-blown junk golem surges up, and both of them freeze no words, just pure shock. This towering monster of stacked barrels and smashed armor looms over a terrified noble. Its massive arms slams down, not to strike, but to shield them from the rest of the flying debris. Rose can only stare in shock as the golem eats the avalanche head-on, shielding them both from certain disaster. The dust finally clears, and the junk golem ate the full blast, standing there like a shield and carving out a safe zone in the chaos. Nokel's utterly wiped out. He can barely stand after pulling off that insane stunt. He stares at his masterpiece now shattered into a crumpled heap, and he's just relieved he managed to halt the whole slide before it got worse. Then, wham, he snaps around with a jolt, and the reason hits him like a thunderclap, why he did it in the first place. He scrambles to Rose, who lies unconscious on the ground, blurting her name in frantic cries as, just as his hand reaches for her, she jolts awake with a groan thank goodness. A wave of pure relief crashes across his face as the truth hits she's alive. Right then, he hears a voice shout from nearby, and his head snaps around. Who else is out here? And of course his brother Justra shows up with a couple of guards at the exact perfect moment you could never have planned. The second prince's eyes snap straight to the unconscious Rose sprawled in the wreckage. Then he spots the massive, scrap-heaped golem wreck still, looming like it's about to snap back to life. Jostra's face twists with pure rage as he snaps, demanding to know what the hell just happened. Nokel just cranes his head up at him, still kneeling beside Rose, right as he's about to spill the entire disaster. Then the flashback slams to a stop, and Noko snaps back to reality, remembering he was only trying to save the kingdom's future. He keeps replaying his brother's smug grin in his head like, from the moment he said it, they never believed him for a second. All he can think about is this crushing truth. He couldn't save even one girl, and everyone else acts like that failure is all that matters. His face crumples into a full-on mask of pure, unfiltered rage, the kind that only shows up after a betrayal. He thrashes against his bonds, desperate for a power that could change anything at all. In his head, the kid's screaming, "If I was only stronger, none of this would have happened." As he clenches his fists, Rose's fancy ring slips right out of his grasp and clatters to the ground, landing directly in front of him. Nokel's eyes blow wide with pure disbelief as the ring slips from his hands and tumbles right in front of him. He stares down at his own palms, utterly stunned, wondering if his power just kicked on by itself. Now this ring hovers in midair and weird, stringy stuff starts forming out of it like it's being summoned. Clutched in his hand is a bundle of raw hemp somehow. His skill had taken an object apart and stripped it down to its bare essentials. He studies the ring closely, and the truth hits him hard. His own power still feels like a total mystery. His mind whips back to childhood when his mother warned him, "Never touch that power, people fear it." Out here, in the dead middle of nowhere, it hits him. There's nobody left to judge him. He decides he'd rather go down fighting than slowly fade out, and he pours all his will into the ring's magic. Fueled by a fresh sense of purpose, he finally decides to push his recyclability to the limit and find out what it's truly capable of. A shattered wooden crate drifts into view, and it's basically begging to be his perfect target for his first real experiment. He funnels his power into the ring, then lines up his shot at that drifting hunk of debris floating in the water. He locks in his focus and decides to try something bold, see if he can consciously tear the object apart piece by piece. A spark of his old inventor's spirit flares back to life, and a real smile cracks across his face as he braces to try again. He thrust his hand forward and screamed the name of his skill, recycle. And this time, he wielded it with pure, total control. The moment it hits, the broken crate shatters on the spot and reforms instantly into a perfect stack of spotless wooden planks. Our boy stares at the results, stunned, speechless. He just turned worthless scrap into top-tier lumber. His mind instantly starts spinning with ideas, and then, like a switch flipping, a crucial memory snaps into place. He still remembers that avalanche how, without even thinking, he pieced scrap metal into a towering golem to rescue Rose. Once that penny drops, it hits him as, isn't only tearing things apart, it's rebuilding them too, and he can construct anything. Staring into a sea of endless trash, his despair hardens into pure resolve. This isn't a prison, it's a workshop. He's pretty sure he'll need an oar to cut through this endless ocean of junk and find his way. Then, he slaps his fresh-cut lumber with his hand, and the magic ring is already blazing with light. In his head, he imagines the exact shape he needs, pouring every ounce of focus into the design with one more loud shout of recycle, he blasts his power straight into the pile of wood. It either shows up fully formed out of nowhere, or it straight up manifests right there on his jerry-rigged raft. Our boy lifts it with both hands, grinning like he just won the world. Boom. He's officially a magical craftsman now. He's left completely speechless, realizing he has zero clue how to build one himself. It hits him. His power doesn't need blueprints at all. It's basically a god-level cheat code. These gears are clicking at full speed, and he realizes he can probably build almost anything he can dream up. For a brief second, he can't help thinking maybe Giostra will actually let him carve out a whole new life here. But he slams the thought shut, telling himself he'll deal with that later. He remembers his brother's final words, and with a bitter smirk, relinquishes the trash sea to himself. A spark of pure defiance flashes across Knuckles' face as the last insult finally sinks in. Standing tall on his raft, he finally gets it. If this is his turf, then he can do whatever he wants. He clamps the ring in his grip and fully commits. Then he grins and fires back. All right, Giostra, you're up. Staring at his brand new kingdom of junk, he swears he'll forge something truly spectacular. His ultimate goal is locked in for good. He's going to build his very own floating city, but right when everything looks like it's about to change the world forever, a sudden wave of dizziness rips that vision away. As Knuckles' eyes pop open, he's totally out of it, stumbling through a daze as he mumbles, "Where am I?" He can still feel the rope biting into his skin, and it hits him his escape was all a lie he invented in his own head. He's still strapped to the raft, staring at the water as reality slowly kicks in somehow. He's still breathing. Then it hits him like a punch to the gut. The epic escape plan was nothing but a fever dream. Back in reality, he's just sprawled on his raft, pretending the whole exiled for life sentence isn't even real. Turns out, he got so locked in on practicing his recycle skill that he completely lost track of everything else. A spark of his old self flickers back. That laser-sharp focus he only gets right before he starts building something. That's exactly why he totally failed to notice the giant storm clouds rolling in above, because they were already setting the stage for his death. Thinking on his feet, he snaps his skill into action and rebuilds a rope out of thin air in an instant. And just like that, he's hurled into a fight for his life against a raging sea that won't let him breathe. Because lashing himself to the raft was his smartest gamble, otherwise the ocean would have turned him into fish food. When the storm finally rips open, he snaps himself free and starts untying the knot, already plotting how to reuse that rope. Then it hits him. This storm ripped clean through his whole life, sweeping away literally everything he'd built until there was nothing left. Through tears of raw frustration, his face hardens with unshakable resolve. As he drifts with no destination, a tiny island suddenly flashes onto the horizon like hope, lighting up the sky. Knuckles frantically paddles toward it, practically bursting with joy at the thought that land is finally in reach. With a breathless sigh, he finally lands on solid ground. Just like that, he's officially a castaway. Just when he finally lets out a breath of relief, a weird, dome-shaped structure pops up in the middle of the island and wrecks it all. Turns out this island is really just a sandbar come high tide. It gets swallowed by the sea. Still, his curiosity latched onto that weird, vine-covered dome like it was the only mystery in the world. Up close, he can't tell either it's a bizarre rock formation or the looming shell of something gigantic, believing there might be something valuable inside. He immediately starts wrestling to pry it open. With one last brutal heave, the dome door explodes open, blasting dust and vines flying into every corner. A choking cloud of ancient dust bursts out of nowhere, and Nokul immediately erupts into a brutal coughing fit. In the mist, he spots something shifting and his stomach drops like, oh no, a monster. Something eerie begins to slowly seep out of the darkness deep inside that strange structure. And there's this tiny, yawning turtle somehow. It's the most terrifying beast imaginable, no question. This tiny dude leans in and admits he's been trapped inside that shell for way too insanely long. Noko realizes this turtle's been around for over 10,000 years, and honestly, it's just insane. Our boy is totally starstruck, practically blurting out how unreal and incredible it is. Then the turtle blurts out, "Who's talking?" And Nokul's body goes rigid. Wait, did he just hear that right? He just freezes there dead silent, because his brain is screaming at the wild fact that a turtle is actually talking to him. Then the full-blown panic hits, like he's finally snapped out here. After catching his breath, he straightens up and politely introduces himself to the talking reptile. This turtle introduces himself as Aspidoclan, and you can tell he's absolutely thrilled with himself. Nokul wastes zero time and throws out nicknames on the spot. And they all agree with a quick handshake, because of course they do. Aspie points out that showing up on a raft was a pretty reckless idea, honestly. It was asking for disaster, so. But Nokul juts out his chest and reassures everyone, puffing out confidence like he's got the answer. Because his recycle skill has him covered. This turtle's clueless about what's going on, so Nokul decides. All right, time for a full-on demonstration. He dashes to the shore to grab supplies and admits he's so hungry, he feels like he's about to collapse. With pure skill, he pries apart the driftwood and spots a few rusty nails stashed inside. Aspie just stares in total shock while Nokul starts stockpiling a mountain of literal trash. Nokwell leans in to his new turtle buddy, telling him to watch every second, then raises the ring with a smug, confident smirk. He shot his hand forward and blasted his power out with a thunderous shout, "Recycle!" Aspie's tiny turtle judges, smacks into the sand, completely frozen, staring at the sudden light show like it came out of nowhere. Right on the beach, those raw materials snap together on the spot and instantly form a whole new shape. And Boom Nokul's got a flawless fishing rod in his hands, proudly showing off his trash-to-treasure skill like it's pure magic. He snaps his line into place right away, and Aspie admits that power is straight-up super useful. This ancient turtle is so lost in thought he strokes an imaginary beard like he's got a secret plan brewing. Aspie then pitches the idea of a second fishing rod, because with two people working together, they can haul in way more fish. Nokul suddenly gets awkward and blurts out that a turtle can't exactly grab a fishing rod, but his thoughts screech to a stop the moment he realizes something is horribly, horribly wrong, because Aspie is now blazing with light, urging him to just hang on for a second. A colossal flash of light detonates, blasting Nokul backward and slamming him into the sand. When the dust finally clears, a girl with a shell on her head leans in and asks if this form is any more useful. Our boy's brain flatlines on the spot. His jaw drops to the floor when he lays eyes on the turtle girl. Aspie blurts out that he needs a fishing rod right away, then wastes no time explaining plain and simple that recycling old clothes is the smart move. A flustered Nookie scraps a toss over the rag, urging her to cover up fast before she catches a sickness like it'll happen any second, and it leads to pudding. Tucking into the dress, he casually drops, like it's no big deal, that he's a guy. Nokul squints, shrugs like it's fine, and shoves over the second rod, then clamps down, choosing not to ask a single question. Once their gear is squared away, the second line rips through the calm ocean water with a loud splash. And now they're just kicking back casting lines together while Aspie finally admits that this quiet life isn't actually so awful. Nokul's finally curious how a turtle can suddenly grow a human body, and he's grilling Aspie about what the heck her deal is. Aspie starts spilling his entire life story, and it goes way, way back, like way farther than you'd ever expect. We cut back to when this little sandbar was once a booming, thriving island ringed by a roaring volcano. Turns out the locals had him on a pedestal, worshipping him as the god of the great earth. And yeah, that's an insane upgrade to his life. When Knuckles' brain freaks out over the god part, Aspie snaps instantly, demanding respect like he's been insulted. But he admits that the golden age of being worshipped didn't last the way he wanted. As his followers ditched him and fled the island, his divine power began to crumble fast. With his magic gone, the whole island dropped straight down into the crashing waves. Now he's convinced he's utterly worthless in this modern world, just trash. That's all he feels like. That word garbage hits like a slap, and he clenches his fist, rage bubbling up still. Knuckles slams him with a huge thumbs up and shouts that his story is totally incredible leaving. Aspie completely stunned. Our boy breaks it down for us. Garbage is just another word for a bundle of possibilities. And then he says, ask for. Aspie is genuinely moved by how absurdly optimistic this whole washed-up take is. With all that sorted, Knuckles figures it's finally his turn to lay down his own gut punch of a story. It all kicks off in the massive Waldorf kingdom he once called home. Inside, a fish skeleton sits on a plate proof of the royal luxury he left behind. And right there is his brother, Justra, getting told how much more productive the meetings could have been without Knuckles around. A flashback spills the truth. Knuckles keeps crashing into council meetings, barging in with his wild garbage inventions to slam pollution right in the face. Justra smirked and dared Knuckles if he loved trash that much, then he should go and die in it. Then an advisor leans in and rips apart the idea of handing over the rights to the whole trash sea lake. That's actually smart. Justra just shrugs off the advisor's worries and smirks, like no need to stress, nothing's wrong. Stewing over his wine, he realizes the kingdom's history has never once seen anyone come out alive from that trash sea. He's probably picturing Knuckles starving to death right now, just aching for that castle's legendary fine dining. But for real, our guy is just casually skewering a brand new caught fish for dinner. And then he takes this huge, satisfying bite looking absolutely nothing like someone miserable out here. He and Aspie are tearing into the food, absolutely loving their simple but seriously delicious meal. They even hauled in a whole bucket of them. Turns out the local fish had zero survival instincts. As he grills yet another fish, Aspie can't help but rave about how insanely useful that recycle skill is. This snaps Knuckles out of it. He needs a way better fire maker, so he grabs one of the fishing rods and goes for it. With a blink, it snaps into a flawless bow drill, poised to spit out sparks the moment it's ready. That magic hits instantly, sure, but the real grunt work has him dripping in sweat, and Aspie can't stop laughing at it. Burning with exhaustion, he glares at the ring like it's mocking him, wishing he could swap it for something way more convenient. Then it hits him. He tried to build that crazy distiller, and it instantly crashed, turning everything into a useless heap of scrap. Aspie points out, yeah, the fire's awesome, but you're going to need way more than that if you're planning to actually live here. That's when it clicks in her head. She clenches her fist, and a surge of purpose floods her like a spark. She jumps to her feet, grinning, and tells him she's got a gift for him. Paid back for those delicious fish with a smug little wink, she tells him she'll hand over something so convenient it feels unreal. Knuckles just freezes there, utterly stunned. What in the world could a depowered turtle god possibly have to offer? Right then, a massive raft of driftwood bobbing on the water suddenly explodes apart with violent force. And since Knuckles already back on the job, he fires up Recycle to snag a brand new haul of materials. Knuckles grinds his skill into overdrive, slaps together a massive planner, and shoots a grin. So this is what Aspie wanted, right? Aspie nods and gives him the go-ahead, fill it up with the island's precious soil. Then he lets it slip. His old shell is basically a secret pantry, stacked and left behind by his former worshippers. And inside, there's this wild little garden packed with bizarre-looking fruits. Knuckles doesn't even hesitate before he's like, I'm eating that right now. Aspie leans in and spells out the whole scheme. Grab a seed from one of those fruits, then jam it right into the bucket of soil they'd just freshly prepared. Next, he hauled Knuckles' whole setup onto the raft, and the confusion on his face only kept growing. Our boy can't help but worry is creeping onto his face as he realizes where all this is headed. He blurts out, are you seriously starting a farm right now on a floating pile of logs? But Aspie just tells him to calm down, right as that tiny shell hat starts glowing ominously. He throws up a pose like a backup dancer, then snaps. All right, this is where the real show starts. With a fierce shout, he unleashes the great Earth's blessing straight onto the raft. This soil in the planter instantly starts churning, bubbling up like it's alive, and A microscopic sprout bursts out of the soil in seconds. Nokel's mind gets totally wrecked as he stares at the instant plant, like he can't believe his eyes. He blurts out right away, "So this is Aspi's depowered god magic at work, isn't it?" Right then, Aspi's human body disappears out of thin air poof. And all that's left is an empty dress sprawled in the sand. He's back to being a tiny turtle, straight up admitting he's totally out of juice, and that he reverted all the way back just to make that dramatic entrance. Masby tells them that if he spreads the island's soil onto the raft, he can brand it as Earth and bless it. And he adds this too: those fruits they're growing are ridiculously hydrating, and they finally crack the water problem for good. Aspie breaks it down. These magic fruits are like a full-service pharmacy, keeping scurvy off them as they travel. Nokel gently lifts his tiny ancient god-tier travel buddy like it's a priceless treasure. Our boy is grinning from ear to ear, telling Aspie how happy he is that they're finally a team. For a heartbeat, that 10,000-year-old turtle looks like it's genuinely moved by the kindness, but Aspie instantly panics, blurts out a new topic, and clearly can't handle praise. This sweet moment gets ripped apart when Aspie suddenly yells that the high tide is coming in fast. Nokel instantly loses it, yelling that he has to scramble for more materials for the raft right now. As he starts stacking trash like a fortress, Aspie snaps, asking if he really needs all of it, but Nokel refuses to budge, saying it's absolutely essential. His tiny friend then spots even more trash and blurts, "What's the big plan here? What are they even doing?" Without a word, Nokel rockets back in and snatches up every last scrap of driftwood he can spot. After one brutal night of building, they finally crash on their shiny, upgraded raft legs, dangling, staring up at the stars like they just earned the sky. By morning, that raft is staring everybody down like a masterpiece, and Nokel flashes a hard-earned thumbs up. It's no longer just a raft. He's hauled together a real deck with a mast, and he built the whole thing out of pure garbage. Aspie watches with a pinch of heartbreak, convinced Nokel's about to shove off and sail away without him. Then Nokel slams a foot down hard on the island's sand again, leaving the little turtle utterly stunned by this shocking move. Assuming the worst, Aspie launches into his dramatic goodbye speech, claiming their time was short but somehow sweet. He wishes the kid a safe trip, already resigned to the fact that leave him stranded on this same sandbar again. Nokel drops a hand on his shell and declares, "All right, Aspie, let's go. This turtle's brain just totally blue-screened. Wait, he's not getting left behind." This tiny turtle god instantly snaps into panic, yelling, "Why am I getting abducted?" And our guy just rubs the back of his head, admitting he guessed Aspie wanted to tag along for the ride. With a heavy heart, Aspie tells Nokel he can't join on the journey. Sadly, he's got to stay behind. He tells everyone he's the god of this great earth, but somehow he still couldn't save his own home. Nokel hoists him onto his shoulder and tells him that's ancient history now, like it's already done. This ancient god stares in pure confusion, blinking hard as he asks if they're really bringing up his past failures. Our boy tells them that once the islanders pushed forward, they didn't need Aspie's magic anymore. They just outgrew it. Then he whips around with a massive grin, points right at it, and says Aspie's powers are basically the perfect cheat code for his whole trip. Nokel locks eyes with him and makes a vow no more, being useless, because he won't let it happen. Instead, he's set to recycle Aspie's power and hand him a whole new purpose. And the little turtle god is so stunned that his eyes flood with real tears as Aspie shoves his face out of sight, muttering that he's got no choice, but deep down he's all in now. For the first time in ages, the wind slams into the sail, priming them for a brand new voyage right as the moment is about to begin. Right when they finally raise the sails, Aspie vows to hand his divine power over to this human boy. As they finally start moving, Nokel's eyes light up. He swings his ring above the coil of rope and gets a brilliant idea. With a raft this huge, he finally gets his hands on the space he needs to build the one thing he's been dreaming about. With that familiar shout of recycle, he erupts into a huge, unstoppable blast of pure creative fire. The rope whips and tucks itself right away, weaving into a tight net-like trap in an instant. And boom, just like that, a flawless rope railing snaps into place, and suddenly the raft feels way safer. Aspie, now safely strapped to a post, casually spots his brand new creation and calls it a hammock. Nokel is downright giddy in his brand new hammock, finally sinking into real comfort after ages of sleeping on punishing hard logs. He's like, "Ah, it's finally mine." He flashes back to that old raft where every crashing wave looked ready to rip him straight into the sea. Even on the brand new deck, he's blown away by how rock-solid their entire setup feels. Aspie smugly claims his blessing from the Great Earth is basically a divine shock absorber for the raft. Once Nokul realizes he can build without the raft tipping, a massive wave of creative fire explodes inside him. But just as he's about to kick off his next project, his own body hits him with a totally different plan. This guy finally drops everything and sails out to the open sea for a quick, well-earned break. And just like that, he's out cold, drifting peacefully in his brand new garbage hammock, which instantly buckles, sending him crashing headfirst onto the deck with a sharp yelp of pain. Stunned, he jolts upright, and Aspie starts panicking, frantically pointing up like his life depends on it. Nokul jerks his head up and a giant winged shadow swallows the sun whole. Two massive feathers float down onto the deck, and just like that, it's confirmed they've got some seriously unwanted company. His face drains of every last color as he stares in horror, praying begging that what he's seeing isn't real. The camera whips upward along the back of a winged woman, revealing her winged female form. Her legs aren't human at all, they're monstrous bird talons, sharp and terrifying, made to tear everything apart. An ancient sketch reveals it's a legendary monster one that storms in and attacks humans without mercy. She finally steps into the light in all her terrifying glory, and the text just confirms the nightmare we all feared. It's a harpy. She studies them with unnerving calm, like she's already picking out her next victims. Nockwell just freezes, terror ripping through him as he struggles to gasp out the creature's name. Aspie shoots, "Are you really that dangerous?" And our boy admits straight up that it's his first time ever seeing one. Turns out harpies aren't just myth, they're infamous for casually wiping out whole armies of regular soldiers, like it's nothing. They're basically humanity's worst nightmare, and honestly, that makes this whole thing wildly exciting. Without a shred of fear, she hurls herself into a full dive bomb and slams straight down on their little garbage raft. Our boy instantly panics. He realizes his recycle skill is way too slow to stop this. He snatches the closest junk, a pipe and a plank, and mutters that he's got no other choice. He's got this brilliant scheme. He just starts hurling random debris at the oncoming monster while screaming at it to back off. And of course, it does absolutely nothing. She keeps barreling forward, faster and faster, like nothing happened. She slips through the airborne trash with smooth, elegant precision, like the whole mess turned into a slow-motion ballet just for her. Nokul is at his breaking point. His best defense is literally hurling trash, and it's driving him insane. In a burst of total genius-level desperation, he snatches Aspie, convinced this time it'll finally work. And he just devours a 10,000-year-old turtle god right there at the harpy, while Aspie screaming in pure, panicked horror. The harpy barely even tries and boots Aspie into the ocean like a soccer ball so much for divine intervention. Nokul is totally unhinged. She's losing it, screaming that she can't believe you kicked her turtle buddy. Rage can't touch her this. Harpy glides down onto the deck right in front of him, perfectly calm and smooth. She just holds his gaze, dead calm and almost bored-like she's daring him to flinch. Nokul braces on deck, gripping two sticks, while her massive talons tear into the planks like they mean it. He flicks his gaze to the ring, and that icy truth crashes in. He has zero chance of winning this fight, but even as he steels himself, he sees the truth. There's no other option, so he has to go for it. With pure grit in his eyes, he slams his recycle skill onto the plank and sticks it tight. He flips it into a giant wooden paddle, swings it like a threat, and demands to know what she wants, then hammers home that he's got no money. This harpy totally shuts off his giant paddle and just points at the hammock. Our boy just freezes there, totally dumbfounded, and asks if she's talking about the hammock he literally finished. She just stares him down with that deadpan face, like the answer's so obvious it doesn't even need words. Then she lets out a massive yawn, stretches her wings wide, and blurts that she's got to use it. Noko's still ready to die in a fight, but the legendary monster just stands there waiting for him. His face screams it all like it's the clearest snapshot of exactly what's happening right this second. Without a single warning, she rockets forward and head first slams him straight into the rope netting. He can only gawk as she settles in, then blurts out, "What's going on?" At that exact moment, a drenched, furious Aspie scrambles back onto the ship, screaming that they've been used like a projectile. Nokul lunges in and scoops him up at once. Blurt, in out a flood of apologies as he admits, straight-faced, that he was desperate. Aspie fires back, asking if this so-called legendary army destroyer really isn't dangerous at all. Meanwhile, that legendary beast is sprawled out in the hammock, fully knocked out. She's curled up fast asleep, so peaceful you'd swear not one murderous thought is even hiding in her mind. Noquel tiptoes in, careful and nervous, trying to catch her eye and tell her right now it's time to leave. She wakes up and blurted out her name, Murmursig, like it's a whole tongueful to swallow. He stays on high alert, grilling her. Are you really sure you didn't come here to attack me? But Murmursig only stretches. Then flat out says she doesn't actually hate humans at all. Turns out her greatest true passion in life isn't fighting or dreams. It's scoring the most legendary nap of all time. A flashback reveals she got kicked out of her own clan for being so lazy. So she's been drifting through the skies ever since, hunting for a cozy spot to finally crash. Noko is sobbing his heart out, utterly wrecked by her heartbreaking confession about being a professional napper. He wipes the tears from his face and tells Aspie, I totally get you, because they're both outsiders in their own way. So he gives a proper intro, and Aspie works to make their new freeloader feel right at home. Murmursig shoots, where the hell is this junk boat even going? And Nokal just shrugs. Nowhere, we're drifting. But he insists he's got a massive dream to turn this raft into a full-blown floating city. That bold statement hits him like lightning, like their little turtle brain just full-on short circuits from pure audacity. Even the legendary beast is totally thrown off, actually stares like, wait, did I just say the city? Nokal reveals that in his kingdom, people acted like it was a crime to reuse perfectly good trash. So he's using that ring to piece together a whole city out of scrap just to prove a point. He's dead set on proving that even worthless stuff can be turned into something that helps people and fuels a whole nation. Murmursig just stares, clearly blown away by how wildly ambitious this kid's dream is. This guy's conviction is rock solid. He's dead serious, and he's ready to burn this garbage city down. After a brief pause, she spins around and declares with zero doubt that she's made her decision. With a dramatic flourish, she proclaims this raft as her brand new nest. So yeah, congratulations on the new roommate. Noquel can't even process it. She blurts out, are you really serious about moving in with us? She tells him, if you build me a whole city, I can finally catch a nap, no one will bother me again. Her mind instantly rockets to a lavish canopy bed, and she practically salivates at the thought of it. So Nokul just winks, like, come on in, welcoming yet another outcast into their insanely weird crew. Then he wastes no time, leaning in and demanding to know what skills she can bring to their brand new co-op. Before she can even open her mouth, her gaze snaps to something drifting in the water just beside her. She casually shows off her talent and crushes a coconut like it's nothing, like it's just a grape. Then he hands them the freshly squeezed juice and asks, want something to drink? Noquel is left speechless until her delicate move totally backfires in the worst possible way, as she carelessly swings her power and the wooden bowl gets obliterated on the spot. Murmursig gets totally flustered and blurts out that she's way better at breaking things than handling them gently. Aspie snaps that she wrecked the only bed, but Nokul shrugs and promises he'll build another. She leans in and asks if he's serious, and our boy nods until he points out one teeny tiny catch. He points at the empty crate, and the memory hits him. He really did fling all his building supplies at her head. If he wants to build anything new, he's going to need wood, cloth, and rope end. Right now, they're all still out at sea. So now they're stuck combing the endless ocean, hunting for even more top-tier trash they can salvage. Hearing that, Murmursi's eyes spark with an idea, while Nokul calmly pats her head and tells her, don't worry. Then she drops her head in a fierce bow, and it totally throws our boy for a loop. With a thunderous flap of her wings, she rockets straight into the sky like a cannonball fired from the heavens. Nokul and Aspie can only gape as their brand new roommate rockets away into the horizon. A tight close-up on her face hits, and you can tell she's on a mission for real. No doubt about it. Suddenly, an axe plummets out of the sky and rockets straight toward the raft. Then a whole table came crashing down with a savage splash right into the water, like a special delivery made to hit hard. Turns out Murmursig is on a full-throttle garbage run, hauling a mountain of junk back for him. She zips back in and drops off the last of her loot in pure blur-fast style. Then lands right back on the deck perfectly and lets out a smug little look like, yeah, that was all me. Nokul just freezes in disbelief. She hauled back an insane pile of top-tier trash in only a few minutes. He's practically shining as the truth hits this whole haul would have taken him half a day to scrape together all by himself. She looks almost mortified as she finally admits her own family used to call her slow and useless so much for that hope of being okay. Without even pausing, Nokul swings in and gives her a comforting head pat, then tells her right to her face that she's awesome. With a grin that won't quit, He actually thinks her help saved him so much time it's unreal. He locks eyes with her and makes it crystal clear. She's not slow. She's not useless. This praise hits like a truck. She's just standing there, blushing hard, soaking every word in. Nokul, fired up to the max, dives straight into it, ready to recycle that entire pile in one go. His ring ignites in a burst of light as he scrambles to recycle it all, but then he realizes something is terrifyingly off. This whole pile of garbage explodes in a brutal backfire, blasting shrapnel in every direction like a live grenade. Instead of raw materials, he accidentally forged a glowing, chaotic mess of a shack. His face is pure shock, like a perfect snapshot of the chaos that just hit him. Then the whole unstable mess crashes down on him without warning, sending Aspie into pure, helpless horror. Staring at the wreckage, Sig whispered that she'd been terrified he couldn't take all of it at once. A single thumb rises from the wreckage, flashing a thumbs up like a miracle proving he's still alive under all that rubble. Pinned under a plank, he's left utterly stunned. He can't wrap his head around why his skill just blew up on him so spectacularly. Aspie drifts in, eyes heavy with sorrow, like he's about to spill the real reason everything went wrong. The turtle god leans in and points at a strange bracer, admitting some of the junk was crafted from materials nobody can identify. Nokul dusts himself off, utterly stunned that garbage is even a real thing, because apparently, I don't know either. Aspie looms over the mysterious items, grinning like he's about to crack the code his analysis skill will figure out exactly what they are. Aspie breaks it down. The recycle skill works like magic. On basic stuff, raw wood and rope come out perfect. This nightmare kicks off the moment you try to cram a messy pile of complex composite junk into one single go pure doom waiting to happen, and then it finally hits Nokul lightbulb moment, because he realizes exactly why his grand invention backfired. He remembers wrestling with a heap of magical armor earlier, only for it to crumble to dust instead of reforming into anything useful. And just like that, our boy's spirits crash. He's convinced he's tapped every last drop of his power. But Aspie fires him up with a truth bomb pep talk, admitting that even a god can't do much when you're just starting out. He says, it's all about one thing. Once you see how powerful you really are, you'll finally know what's truly within reach. With fresh drive burning in him, Nokul finally clocks it. His first move isn't just practice. It's finding exactly what his skill can't handle. So yeah, this is where the real adrenaline hits. Time to sort the trash. He immediately pulls Sig into it, and the poor guy just stands there totally stunned, like he can't believe what he's hearing. With a solid plan locked in, Nokul raises his ring, eyes blazing, ready to go again. He drops to his knees in front of that shady pile of useless junk, swearing this time it's finally going to work. This ring bursts to life, and his focus locks in. He's determined to craft the ultimate bed for their new roommate. As he sharpens his focus, a single mind flash hits him an ornate, ridiculously familiar rocking chair. And there he is, an icy, regal-looking man sitting in a ridiculously opulent room, calmly devouring every page of his book like it owns the place. The scene whirls back into that extravagant room from his past, and he tilts his head up, letting the memory wash over him like pure nostalgia. While a servant pours him a drink, the man points to that chair and says it sparks a memory he can't quite place. Then the ornate goblet gets set down on the little table right next to him. Then the smirking servant blurts out stories about Gestra, His Highness, and this disgusting garbage prince. This guy in the chair, Gestra, right? Shuts his eyes with a calm, knowing smile like he already knows exactly what's coming. The scene snaps to two young boys, likely Gestra and Nokul brawling right by their mother's feet. Gestra quickly raises a book that's already flaunting his so-called brain power. Now, as an adult, he sprawls on that throne, smirking like he owns the world after swallowing up everything. He even sneers and says his brother tried to snag this chair, then still died out on a log clutching a gem. Right now, the raft only creaks softly on the water like a quiet ghost of everything that happened, far from that memory. And while Nokul and Sig are finally kicking back in brand new, custom-built lounge chairs like kings, that tiny raft has been leveled up into a full floating patio, complete with a shiny umbrella. Sig is fast asleep in her brand new bed, totally cozy at last like she's finally at peace. Meanwhile, Noko is absolutely chilling, coconut in hand, straw in his mouth, living his best life. She wakes up in disbelief, staring at how he turned a heap of junk into something insanely comfortable. Our boy flicks up his sleep mask like a champ and, with a proud grin, tells us he dreamed up the best bed he's ever known. Then he flat out admits it's only a copy, So yeah, it probably doesn't hit nearly as hard as the real thing. But Murmursig instantly shuts him down, insisting he's dead wrong about it. With a shy blush on her cheeks, she admits this is the very first time she's ever felt anything like this. She didn't just wish for it. She dreamed of her mother's arms because this bed felt so unbelievably safe. With a truly gentle smile, she warmly thanks Nokul and Aspie for their kindness. Nokul grins for the camera and throws up a giant thumbs up, while Aspie suddenly looks away, completely flustered. Aspie snaps everyone back to reality and demands, "So what's the next play?" She calls out the obvious truth: building a city takes way more than just tossing random ocean garbage into the mix. And our boy finally has to swallow the truth: his team's lack of resources is slamming a huge wall right in front of his dream. Aspie points out, if you want this to grow for real, you can't just keep hauling garbage out of the ocean. You've got to find waste from somewhere else. But Murmursig hammers it home. There's not a single piece of land in sight, yet Nokul doesn't even care while he snoozes. Except right in the middle of it. She suddenly remembers she grabbed some junk on her flight. A tiny souvenir for the road. She stared into the horizon and froze there, off in the distance, was something that looked exactly like an island. A towering, lonely spire stood all by itself, empty of people, yet right at the top sat a gold mine of ancient junk, just waiting to be found. Noko's eyes nearly bulge out of his skull, because right in front of him is an entire island of pristine, untouched trash. With no hesitation, he's up on his feet and sprinting, then blurts out that their next destination is locked in. Officially, said he. He immediately fires off his recycle skill, itching to turn their patio raft into something way bigger and better. That umbrella, along with everything else, gets ripped apart in a blinding flash of light. And they've been forged into a brand new sail, and now they've got propulsion, baby. With his shirt half undone, Nokul jabs a finger at the horizon and declares, "Our hunt for unknown trash starts now." And just like that, their tiny raft snaps into gear, turning into a real sailboat that carves through the waves with purpose. Out on the sea, Nokul looks around and decides right now is the perfect moment to cram in some serious skill grinding. He grins like he just won, feeling his power surge and knowing it's hitting perfectly. His practice gear was that ornate scepter from before, the one they still couldn't name or identify, no matter how hard they stared. And now he's cracked it. If he gathers a few extra materials, he can recycle magical items and turn them into something new. He finally gets it once he puts in more training. His skill is about to go way beyond insane. Just then, Aspie bursts out of the mist and yells that they finally reached their destination. Nokul's jaw drops at the sheer scale of the place, while Murmursig just yawns like it's nothing. He points to the spot and confirms this is where the top-notch junk is, and she just lights up like, yep, this is the place. Nokul is practically buzzing out of his skin, itching to get his hands on that glorious junk but Aspie makes a killer point. This island is nothing but a vertical cliff. There's nowhere to actually land. She's pretty sure that whatever mess is up there is probably just worthless junk. Hearing that, Murmursig's worry spikes. What if she just sent them on a totally pointless detour? But our boy flashes a grin so wild it basically shouts, "I've got full faith in trash, no questions asked." He grins at her like, "Don't stress." Then locks his gaze on that towering spire, jaw set with pure determination. He lifts up the ring and tells you straight up nothing's really worth anything until you try recycling it. Determined as ever, he snaps his head around and starts gearing up for the climb right away. He swings open the crate and yanks out this massive roll of canvas-looking material. He figures he'll have to forge some seriously tough climbing gear just to claw his way up that brutal, steep rock face. Right then, Murmursig softly flicks her wing and taps his shoulder. Then she throws out a ridiculously simple idea. Why doesn't she just fly up, snatch it for him, and be done? Our boy freezes for a heartbeat, then breaks into a grin and happily shoves the big cloth into her hands like, "Here, use this as a makeshift bag." With a quick nod of agreement, she blasts into the sky, itching to crush one more express delivery run. While she's gone, Aspie yanks Nokul over to the raft's edge for a quick, curious peek. He drops to his knees beside the turtle god, leaning in close as he peers into the water below, all curiosity and wonder. This water is so crystal clear it exposes the ocean floor like a spotlight, revealing all kinds of creepy sunken relics beneath the waves. And by objects, I mean this massive sunken city is literally sitting right under their feet. Nokul's face bursts with pure joy, because this is the ultimate paradise for a garbage lover. He's completely frozen, trying to wrap his mind around it. This whole metropolis has been lurking under the waves the entire time. Our guys pieced it together, and it hit them this spire was probably the tip of some massive sunken tower. Right? Right on cue, Murmursig rockets out of the sky and drops her express delivery straight from the spire's peak. With a massive grin, Nokul braces himself to inspect his brand new mountain of high-altitude garbage. This is going to be wild. The bag bursts wide open, and inside, scattered and shattered, lies a cannon that looks like it crawled straight out of an ancient battlefield. This junk heap leaves Nokul completely baffled. He's never seen anything even close to this before. Aspie drifts in for a closer look, and the moment he spots the strange mechanical parts, recognition hits hard. Then the turtle god hits you with a lore bomb. This isn't just magic, it's a weapon from an ancient civilization. A magic cannon. This shocking reveal fries Nokul's brain, and he blurts out to Aspie, "Tell me more right now." But Aspie, the font of all ancient knowledge, goes stone quiet and darts his gaze away like he's hiding something. He lays it out. This destructive weapon runs on a secret formula that unleashes earth-shaking magic blasts. Clutching the parts, Nokul doesn't think, "Oh no," he blurts out, "Wait, can I fix this?" The turtle god leans in and says he can probably fix it, because back home, he's seen every kind of weapon imaginable. That sparks our boy's mind. He starts digging, trying to lock onto the exact memory he can't shake. A memory snaps into place. He swears he's seen the exact same thing in the oldest garbage dump in his kingdom. Then it hits him. He's got it. If he can grab a staff for the core, he can build the whole thing no problem. And look at, turns out the mysterious magical scepter they found earlier is exactly what they need for the job. Without a second thought, he triggers his recycle skill, and those ancient pieces suddenly light up, then swoop together in midair. Cracked fragments snap together like fate itself, shifting, clacking, and reassembling into one solid body. And just like that, the ancient magic cannon roars back to life, fully restored, leaving the entire crew stunned and utterly speechless. Nokul is losing his mind over his new toy, because every floating raft deserves an ancient superweapon. Nokul can't contain his excitement over his brand new weapon, and he decides it's finally time to fire it off and see what it can do. He smacks his hand on the charging port, ready to power it up with his own magic. He starts unloading every last drop of power, gritting his teeth and groaning like it's ripping him apart. He strains so hard his face turns red, but Murmursig just stands there totally unfazed. She's trying her hardest, and she's right there giving it her all. Then she just flops into sleep, dead serious, like her support is literally her drifting off. And just like that, Nokul is totally wiped out, collapsing on the deck after a record-short burst. Even though he's completely wiped out, he drags himself back up anyway, shouting that at least he managed to load it. With grim determination blazing in his eyes, he snatches the firing cord, ready to pull the trigger on the biggest moment of his life. He screams, "Fire!" like a battle-hardened general, throwing every ounce of drama into it. The cannon finally fired, just a pathetic little pop, then spat a weak puff of smoke. Our boy just stands there, dead-eyed and grinning like nothing matters, wrestling with the total wreck of this test run. Now he's sulking hard, convinced magic just isn't for him. While Sig murmurs and gives him a pity pat as Aspie just sighs, throws up a fine, "I'll do it." And right above him, a halo of water starts to swirl and form. Out of that tiny turtle, a blinding flash suddenly explodes in a flash of light, leaving Nokul completely stunned. As the lights die out, Aspie snaps into a full-on human form and declares, loud and clear, that she's taking over. Her fingertips brush the cannon, and bam, it ignites at once, blazing with pure divine power. That magic canister on the side rockets straight to the brim, glowing like a burst of pure, brilliant light. Now that she's got the power, she snatches the firing mechanism and demands, "That's it, this is all it does." With a sly smirk, she declares her shot is going to be way better than the prince's pathetic attempt. And she blasts a gigantic energy beam that rips across the ocean. Yeah, just like that. Aspie's shot explodes into a blinding beam, and the recoil alone hurls Nokul flying backward. Her blast rips straight through the spire, blasting the entire top half into nothing but debris. He's losing his mind, screaming his head off because his ears won't stop ringing, and Murmursig only sits there looking mildly impressed. Leaning into the fresh hole, they spy a secret chamber. Then Aspie shrugs and admits she overshot just a little. This kid is still losing. He's basically yelling, "What have you done?" at the absolute top of his lungs. That one tiny miscalculation shattered everything. Now the spire is actively buckling and collapsing right in front of us. A monstrous boulder tears loose from the cliff and rockets straight toward their floating patio grate. Nokul is yelling at the top of his lungs, demanding everyone evacuate, because the falling rocks are about to crush them. This guy launches into a desperate sprint across the deck, barely dodging the apocalypse bearing down on him. One glance over his shoulder proves it right now. Everything's about to get smashed flat. He snaps his head up, and there it is, a giant boulder barreling toward him, ready to crush him into nothing. At the very last second, Mermersig rockets in and slams a flying kick down with both feet. Fertilands link up, and the house-sized boulder suddenly detonates, blasting into a roaring storm of dust and pebbles. Down on the deck, Nokul gets blasted by the splash, totally safe, but stunned stiff. After it all settles, they huddle on the raft, staring at what just happened, because that was a ridiculously close call. Our boy just drops to the deck, finally admitting he truly thought he was about to turn into a permanent resident of the ocean floor. Even Mermersig seems to be feeling the aftermath. Her leg gets yanked tight with a sharp little jolt of pain. Just great. With a grateful smile, Nokul tells her she can pick any reward she wants, and you can tell she's genuinely tempted by the offer. Her face softens, a shy blush creeps in, and she meets his eyes with bold, serious expectation. And her thank you for yanking him back from certain doom, just a small pat on the head. Nokul is totally stranded when Mermersig literally turns her back and leaves him hanging. So he cautiously stretches his hand out and asks if that's a head pad she's looking for. And she melts on the spot, confirming this is the 5-star treatment she was craving. Our boy cringes and blurts an apology for being so slow, while Aspie just sits there, watching the whole awkward mess play out. This turtle god leans in and tells everyone the truth without worshippers. Her magic has been draining into nothing for ages. So when she rushed the cannon, she completely misread her own power level and paid for it instantly. Turns out their faith in her unlocked a massive new power she never saw coming. Nokul's mind is blown like faith. Hit the cannon with a full power-up, not just some flashy raw magic. He flips from tense to all grins, telling Aspie there's not a single thing to apologize for. Honestly, he's over the moon because they finally have a real weapon to keep themselves safe. But Aspie cuts in with brutal bad news, staring down at the cracked deck. Yeah, about that weapon. Her one shot smashed it again, and Nokul instantly panicked. Without even a heartbeat to spare, he slams his recycle skill forward to stop that cannon from breaking apart into nothing. He can barely keep it together, but Aspie points out the outer casing is still smashed. Nokul snaps to it. If he doesn't get way better materials, this thing is just going to keep breaking on him. Just then, he muttered something and took 6 steps forward, then offered her his wing like it meant everything. At that exact moment, a towering shadow rips through the clouds and charges closer, dark as night. Aspie is panicking, blurting out that the thick fog finally slammed into its path after all this time. Cold sweat pours down Nokul's face as he glares up at the looming, ominous silhouette. Aspie, now wearing a human body, grimly snaps that if the Elkin Navy is coming for them, they're finished. Mermersig's eyes squeeze shut in focus as she finally spots the oncoming vessel with absolute clarity, and then, right out of the fog, something huge crawls into view. A battered galleon, a full-on ghost ship. Its hull is shattered to pieces like it got dragged through the worst fight imaginable. And get this, the battered sails are flying a surprisingly adorable cat-themed Jolly Roger. That has to be a pirate ship. Its sails and hull look wrecked, like it's been fighting for centuries and losing every time. Nokul and Mermersig are totally losing it because she's sensing a dangerous vibe crawling out of that vessel. Our boy just stands there frozen in disbelief. Yup, pirates are officially on the menu. Aspie instantly spirals into full panic, screaming at them to bolt before anyone spots them. Nokul just stands there, locked on the ship, thinking hard. Like fear has no place in his head. He points out this isn't an active threat at all. It looks like a wreck, with no crew anywhere in sight. From the massive ship above, he peers down and realizes the wreckage screams one thing: cannonballs ripped into it. So he clicks into place, realizing the crew is almost definitely long gone. And right above our main guy's head, a little light bulb, tiny, trash-obsessed, and totally adorable, pops on like a genius idea. He grins and basically calls the derelict ship a floating treasure chest stuffed with garbage. Masby can't even process it. He stares and asks, "Are you really about to board that?" Then grins while clutching a rope in his hand. As he ropes the raft tight, Aspie growls that this is exactly what earned him the Garbage Prince crown. He takes it like a trophy, tells her to stop praising him so hard. Zero self-awareness, yet somehow full-blown confidence. His logic is dead simple. Pirates don't just sail for fun, they hunt down treasure from every corner of the world. So the ghost ship might finally get the top-tier materials he needs to repair that cannon for good. Without wasting a second, he begs Mermersig for an airlift to the deck, and she beams, ready to make it happen. Mermersig is practically melting from the head pats like. This is the absolute peak of luxury for her. But that sweet moment shatters the instant she suddenly slams him onto the deck, screaming like it hurts. Turns out her leg is still screaming in pain from that boulder-shattering kick she landed earlier. She calls Nokal shockingly fragile for a human, and he just sits there, utterly stunned, not a clue in sight. Shaking it off, our boy snaps back to his feet, amped to finally dive into that ghost ship. Right when they stumble up to the cabin door, a dark silhouette streaks across the window like it's hunting them. Mermersig snaps to attention right away, shouting that she's 100% sure there's someone in there. Noko flashes a deranged grin. Nothing is going to stop his garbage hunt. His genius play? Walk right up, smile politely, and ask those potential pirates for their trash. Without a second thought, he yanks the door wide open and struts straight in like he's the owner. The sight that hits him is so shocking his eyes feel like they'll pop clean out of his skull, because the entire cabin is jam-packed head to toe with silent, armored warriors standing shoulder to shoulder. Our hero, totally oblivious to what's going on, breaks the tension by cheerfully congratulating them for surviving the shipwreck. Then, the visors snap up, boom, and undead army surges into view, glowing red eyes burning through the dark. This entire crew snaps and loses it, scrambling backward while screaming at the top of their lungs in pure, unfiltered terror at the reveal. Without wasting a second, the skeleton knight rockets forward and swings its sword straight at Nokul. That hit blasted him backward across the deck, and he just barely slipped out of the lethal swing. From the floor, Aspie blurts out that they're actually skeletons. Like, yeah, he just had to say it. Mermersig slips in at once, throws herself between them, and then it hits these corpses aren't just moving. A necromancer is puppeteering them. With a silent snarl, a skeletal soldier barrels in like a missile, rushing straight in for the kill. Mermersig instantly steps in and hammers a brutal punch straight into the skeleton's gut. That armored corpse rockets backward, smashed by the raw force of her protective rage. Right after that, she drives her massive talons straight down, slamming it through its hand and pinning it to the deck. Her sword lashes out, misses by inches. Then she pins it down hard, killing the danger before it can even land. Nokul just gapes at the floor, totally stunned by the instant ferocity his bodyguard unleashed. This skeleton chatters like a warning as her claws slash in right for the finishing blow. With one brutal squeeze, she crushes its spine to dust. She glares them down, daring anyone to lay a hand on her precious prince. Then she explodes into a full rampage, smashing and kicking her way through the entire undead crew. Meanwhile, Nokul and Aspie huddle against the wall, shaking with pure terror as the carnage rages around them. With the last one crumpled, Mermersig turns her head, smug satisfaction blazing like she just bulldozed the whole place by herself. Our boy is practically shaking with relief. He grabs her and thanks her like she just saved them from a full-on bony apocalypse. Then out of nowhere, one of the smashed skeletons on the floor begins to magically snap back together bone by bone. They all stare in terror as the whole undead army claws its way up from the scrap heap. Before Mermersig can even twitch, a reanimated skeleton lunges in from behind and clamps onto her. It clamps down with a death grip on her wing, its empty eye sockets staring straight at her. The rest of the horde crashes in and swarms her, pinning her flat so she can't even move. Nokal shrieks her name, staring in horror as his last line of defense gets smashed completely. He bolts inside, fighting like crazy to yank one of those skeletons off her back. But he's got absolutely no strength. Left, he screams that he can't even move a muscle against that iron grip, as a massive metal boot crushes him. Aspie chokes back tears and begs you to believe these once proud warriors are still in there. They were forged to grind the fallen of war into an immortal army-pure necromancer dream fuel. Mermersig is repulsed to the core, horror claws at him at the thought of desecrating fallen soldiers for battle. Pinned in place, Nokul watches as one of the skeletons snaps its focus back on her, ready to finish the job. It swings its sword for the finisher, but the blade explodes into shards the moment it slams the floor. This skeleton just freezes there, completely stunned as its weapons crumble into dust out of nowhere. Meanwhile, Aspie's nerve finally snaps. She screams that it's all over for them. Nokul slams his foot to the deck, refusing to drop without tearing the whole situation apart. He squares up to the bony soldier, jaw clenched, ready to throw down even when the odds look absolutely brutal. And then boom, both he and Aspie are shrieking at the top of their lungs, trapped in pure, unfiltered terror. That skeleton's glowing eye burns with menace, pinning our hero like its next victim. It suddenly freezes, stares at its own hand, and you can see it splintering apart like something's cracking from the inside. Turns out Nokul snatched the sword's hilt and started using his recycle skill to undo it piece by piece. With a blinding burst of light, the weapon rips apart into nothing, leaving the skeleton completely helpless. Nokul wastes zero time and lashes out with a brutal swing of his blade. His attack slams home, and the skeleton's head rockets clean off its shoulders. Staring at the twitching body, he suddenly gets it, rip the head off. And that's how you stop them. That's an awesome discovery, yet Mermersig is still getting hammered by the rest of that bony crew. Right then, a second skull slammed onto the deck with a brutal, bone-rattling tiat. After the skeletons get torn apart, Nokul barrels straight to Mermersig's side, who grabs the moment and thanks him for saving his life. Aspie snaps that his recycling power is the ultimate counter. He just tears their weapons apart until they crumble away. That tiny hint from Aspie is all it takes. He snaps into action and launches a brand new plan built on garbage. He figures if these skeletons are just scrap bodies wearing trash armor, then he can recycle the entire set. This finally cracks the whole ghost ship mystery. Turns out the crew never left. They just went even bonier. Meanwhile, Aspie just collapses into a sobbing puddle of relieved turtle tears, utterly crushed by the fact he almost didn't make it. She shouts his name, and our boy just drops his gaze, completely clueless about what's coming next. Aspie jabs a finger at the nearby door and says she can sense a faint human presence hiding on the other side. Noko's hero complex snaps on the second he clocks the skeletons cornering some poor soul in there. So he starts pounding on the door like a panicked delivery guy, shouting, "Is anybody home?" Still getting nothing back, he yanks at the handle, only to feel it locked up tight, and that's a damn bad sign. He quickly figures out it's not just locked, someone barricaded it from the other side to keep it safe. Before he can even form a plan, Mermersig barrels forward, demands he back up, and declares she'll handle it. She snaps her stance, spreads those wings wide, and you can tell a totally obvious entrance is seconds away right as the moment cuts off with a sharp F. In the blink of an eye, she snaps around and hammers the door with a devastating kick. Her kick slams into the door with brutal force, blasting wood and debris flying in every direction. She casually asks, "Was that good enough?" While Nokul just freezes hit with the terrifying reminder of how deadly her battle prowess really is. He tells her she was insanely helpful, then rewards her with another 5-star head pat. As they push through the wreckage, they stumble into what looks like the captain's cabin, but he's gone his. But before he can dig any deeper, a dark, clawed monster suddenly drops over him and swallows the moment in shadow. And the most terrifying twist is this pirate captain woman just collapsed, passed out cold on the floor. Noko leans in and right when it hits. She realizes the terrifying pirate captain isn't a monster at all. She's just a girl. He's totally baffled how in the world could someone that young be a pirate. Rocking that wild get-up, Mermersig tells him, calm as anything, that she's only unconscious, and our boy exhales a massive sigh of relief. Then a brutal flashback slams into him, and panic erupts. What if there are more survivors stuck on this cursed ship? Shoving fear to the side, Mermersig rushes in to check the captain for injuries while Nokul blurts out thanks to her. She gently raises the girl's leg, searching every inch for any sign of a wound. And just like that, she spots a nasty cut on her leg, almost certainly the skeleton crew's doing. Nokul snaps straight into hero mode and vows to hunt down medicine for her right now. So he starts digging through a nearby dresser because even a hero has to loot sometimes. Go ahead, ask me. The voice of reason of helping some random pirate is really the smartest move. Nokul says he spotted their flag the second before they even boarded, so yeah, there's a good chance they're not enemies. He points to the cute cat logo and says it marks this as a privateer ship from the Arcing Kingdom. So yeah, she's a government-approved pirate, a state-backed menace with a license to terrorize. Turns out the Arcing Kingdom used to get battered non-stop by pirates attack after attack. So they hired pirates to hunt down rival pirates straight up fight fire with fire style. Aspie crumples into tears, sobbing at him that he's an idiot for risking everything for some high-class trash. Right then, the pirate captain's eye snaps open like nap time is done, and the storm just woke up. Mermersig didn't even blink, just leaned into her space, flashed a casual good morning, and acted like nothing was happening. That greeting detonates a full-blown panic in the captain. He screams at the top of his lungs and launches himself into the air. She drops onto all fours, snaps her gaze around, and demands to know who they are, then reveals she's a catgirl pirate. She drops into a tight defensive crouch, eyes locked on the strangers, ready to explode forward and pounce. With a deadly glare, she takes one look at the intruders who just kicked her door wide open. That catgirl shoots off instantly, sprinting for every inch of space from the giant winged woman. But Murmursig snaps her out of midair and demands, "You okay?" while the captain eats a full blast of feathers. Nokul dashes over with the first aid kit, trying to calm the chaos down and swear they're not enemies. He flips open the medicine box and blurts that the skeletons are gone. Then, he grabs her attention, because her leg needs fixing right now. Still stuck in the same mess, the captain grips Murmursig for dear life like he'll fall apart, while Murmursig stares ahead, completely over it. Our boy tears into first aid, bandaging her leg while firing off heartfelt apologies for how totally unprofessional his medical skills are. Once the bleeding stopped and she's dressed and patched up, she finally calms down enough to thank him and talk. This captain finally drops a formal apology for losing it, then thanks them the way they truly deserve for saving them. Turns out her name is Ginny is, and she's the captain of this ship, the Golden Lynx. Murmursig shot back with her own name, dead serious and stoic-faced, like always. Genius is still a total mess of nerves, but Murmur casually waves off her apologies like they don't even matter then. Then Aspie suddenly shows up to introduce herself, because seriously, you can't forget the talking turtle. And it hits the captain like a punch boom. He erupts into another screaming fit, and there's a talking turtle standing right there. Finally, he flashes a confident smile and says, "It's me," like he's setting the whole stage. The moment she hears the name Arcane, her eyes snap wide and a wave of dawning horror crashes over her. The no-clueless, totally tone-deaf woman blurts, "Got any garbage I can take?" And it leaves her completely dumbfounded. Suddenly, it all clicks. She spots him and realizes it's Nokul Arsene, the notorious criminal with a deadly curse ability. And our guy just stands there, drenched in sweat, totally clueless. Because the second his name hits the air, the whole place spirals into panic. Jinya yanks her blade free, swears she'll take Noko down before his curse can strike anyone else. He scrambles to calm her down, but she's floating off the ground with raw, unfiltered panic blasting through her veins. Aspie screams that his horrible reputation is blown way past what they ever expected. Even with them shouting off-screen, Genius snaps at him to brace himself because he's about to go after the notorious criminal. She stomps her foot and lunges forward like she's about to land a glorious, heroic strike only to find that something else is coming for her. But Nokul just stared, completely stunned, as he held the shattered sword hilt out in front of him. When she sees it, she freezes dead in her tracks. Her face turns sickly green as if her body can't handle it. Her hand snaps over her mouth as she gapes at Aspie like. Her attack vanished the instant she saw him. Then she hurls up over the side of the ship, and honestly, it's a ridiculously majestic sight. Next thing you know, a mop is getting absolutely slammed, scrubbing the deck clean like it's in a full-blown cleanup battle. Nokul snarls about the disgusting mess, but Murmursig just stands there and watches unbothered, like it's nothing. Jinya cowers nearby, mortified all over again as her enemy flings her into defeat for the second time. Turns out this mighty pirate captain is absolutely wrecked by a crushing case of super seasickness like the worst possible luck. He insists, again, that they're not enemies, then bluntly tells her she can't truly do anything for her condition. She then blurts out that her dream is to become an elite privateer, just like her father did, but her career crashed after a freak accident during a naval mock battle when the whole ship went up in flames. Nokul repeats herself, and the look in her eyes screams that he knows right down to the details what kind of accident that was. Just thinking about it makes Jinya's look like she's seconds away from getting sick again. He snaps at her to shut it, because if she keeps talking, they're about to get another round of deck swapping, and she quickly turns her gaze aside, utterly wrecked with overwhelm and burning embarrassment from the whole ordeal. Genius snaps that if she can't take control of it, this ship is finished destined to crash into the trash. And the second the word garbage hits, Nokul's eyes snap open, attention locked in, no distractions at all. She still remembers the Naval Academy lesson. A ship without a master isn't a vessel. It's just a trash heap drifting around until it finally sinks and vanishes into the sea. With her crew vanished and her dream crushed, she feels like a total failure. This ship belonged to her father, and since day one, she chased his shadow desperate to sail the same path he did. Once he vanished, she refused to sit still. She trained for years, locked in on becoming the person he left behind. But the seasickness hits so hard she can barely even issue orders to the ship. Nakwell leans in and drinks in every painful detail of her tragic tale, while a brilliant plan starts sparking behind his eyes. He tells her straight up if she quits, this ship really will turn into nothing but useless junk, which is. And, judging by her face, that wasn't even close to the motivational speech she was hoping for. Murmursig cuts in, saying that no matter how good he is, he's not exactly the kind of sailor who can lend a real hand. To prove his point, Nokul yanks a chunk of wood right off the nearby table. He raises the jagged plank, and as his recycle skill ignites, it blasts to life right in front of her. In a burst of brilliant light, the busted wood snaps back into place, reforms, and starts reshaping like it's alive again. Then he hands her a flawlessly crafted miniature table practically brand new, and you can see how proud he is. Jinya just stands there, her mind totally frying as the magic she witnessed hits her like a crash. He tells her that traveling with a criminal is dangerous, but she can tap into his power and make it to shore. But she still doesn't buy it. She points out the whole ship is a complete wreck. So our hero demands a full grand tour. He wants to see firsthand what kind of trash he's really stuck dealing with. Genius grits his teeth and reluctantly tags along on the garbage tour, still totally unsure what kind of guy he's dealing with. So Nokul just snatches her up for a piggyback ride because apparently walking is for rookies. He hauls her outside. She blurts out a thank you. But the second she looks up, she realizes the ship's swaying violently. And just like that, her seasickness slams right back in and leaves Nokul completely baffled. Cue another absolutely majestic round of projectile vomiting as our heroes stand there, totally unfazed, like it's just another Tuesday. They ditch the bigger boat and shove themselves onto that tiny raft that looks ready to collapse any second just for a little while. After the cleanup, Nokul wastes no time and gives himself a quick rinse, because every hero absolutely has to earn that shirtless moment. Genius is back to blurting out non-stop apologies, while Nokul just stares ahead like he's already accepted he's stuck cleaning floors forever. Aspie tells everyone to just lounge on the raft for a minute, but that sounds like a nightmare, especially for a seasick pirate. Genius fidgets right beside Murmursig, clearly panicking over what brand new hello might hit her next. Then it hits her. She's actually out on the water for the very first time, and she's not getting sick at all. Turns out Aspie is using her blessing of the earth to slam magical roots into the raft and lock it steady. Genius is left reeling, and Aspie blurts out that she used to use this power all the time to help shipwrecked sailors. In a flashback, she taps into her power and steadies the ocean itself, calming the waves so passing ships can glide through. People swear this power made trade routes so much safer, and she still looks back on it with real warmth, but those new magic gadgets from foreign lands crushed her powers into uselessness. And it was the old story again, automation, showing up and stealing the work. Jenna leaned in, eyes locked on the little talking turtle as heartbreak crashed over her. Because that turtle's past was brutally tragic. Aspie wraps up her tale, admitting her island eventually swallowed itself into the sea, trapping her completely alone for years and years. But in her eyes, a fierce spark of resolve burns through like she refuses to stay a victim. Nokul drinks it all in, eyes locked, like the weight of his friend's lonely past just hit him right in the chest. After Aspie's heartbreaking tale, Nokul throws on his clothes with a brand new unshakable steel in his spine. Aspie tells him, yeah, you've got a heart of gold, you lovable garbage lover, but don't you dare mess up Genius' ship. Genius just stands there, dead quiet, still trying to process this wild, bizarre crew like her brain's buffering. She finally gives in and admits that staying on their raft is the only shot to kill her seasickness. Because the ship is already wrecked, she decides to stop it from sinking and squeeze one last win out of the disaster. With a desperate stare, she solemnly hands her father's beloved ship over to Nokul's care. Our boy flashes a grin, buzzing with pure excitement as he agrees to take on the insane task of recycling a whole galleon. He unveils his big plan using the ship's materials to supercharge their raft and grow it at an insane scale. First up, he launches a full-on garbage tour, digging through the trash to pull out the useful gems and toss the junk. Then Aspie casually snaps into a human girl form, and Jinya's jaw drops so hard he can't even think. With everyone finally gathered, Nokul snaps into action and starts calling the shots on the world's most wild, chaotic salvage mission. He flings his hand forward and slams his recycle skill into action with pure dramatic swagger. Every last scrap of salvaged wood and leftover materials snaps back together on the spot, reforming into clean, perfectly stacked piles, organized like it was planned. In the blink of an eye, their little raft is yanked into place, docked to a huge, brand-new wooden deck. This whole crew finally cracks and takes a well-earned lunch break on their brand-new platform, like a real team for the first time. He even built every one of them separate beds. At this point, it's not a raft at all. It's a floating studio apartment. Now the golden links are nothing but wrecked, stripped leftovers floating off as debris in the wreckage. But No Cool isn't finished. He slams his power on one last time, and a glowing magic circle erupts under him. With a triumphant roar and a tiny spirit perched on his shoulder, he swings around and announces the project is finished. And then he swings open the moment showing their brand new home, a giant multi-story floating village, rebuilt from the bones of the old ship. No Cool proudly announces they're finally sailing toward yet another sea city, and his floating village practically struts like it owns the ocean. He even built a special garbage box for the trash because his priorities are messed up. And on top of that, he even hauled in a real toilet and washroom on this glorified raft. Our boy proudly shows off the new cabin finally, a real shelter that can stand up to whatever the world throws at him. He admits the materials wouldn't let him forge a magic cannon. But hey, maybe next time he'll get it right. And with that, he taps one of the brand new doors with a quick, confident knock. Go check on Murmursig. She's already kicking back in her new bed like she owns the place. She confirms it. Finally, after all that chaos, she's so comfortable she can just sink into the peace and breathe. They squeeze in a quick moment where she thanks him, and Nokel's practically glowing because she finally gives her approval. But then Jinya shows up, and Noko's good mood instantly crashes like it never stood a chance. He blurts out a frantic apology, admitting he turned her father's ship into nothing but an extension of a raft still. But then Genius is completely breaking down, wiping tears as he swears, "No, this isn't what you think." She's totally blown away by everything he's done. She tells him that her whole life, all she's ever heard is that his so-called recycle skill is nothing but a useless curse. With one bold step forward, she's ready to set the record straight for everyone to see. This ex-captain thrusts his hand forward and insists that the truth is that jaw-dropping skill so brilliant it made the wall he built out of her ship's remains shine with meaning. He nailed it to the very spot where it all started. With rosy cheeks, she quickly turns to him and pours out a heartfelt thank you for keeping her father's memories alive. Noquel just flashes a confident thumbs up, soaking up every ounce of that praise like it's fueling him. Now that everyone's finally on the same page, he leans in and asks if she knows the way to the Naval Academy. Genius yells, "Hang on a sec," and snatches out a weird-looking navigation gadget. She snaps a sextant into action to find their bearings, while Nokel just gapes at it like it's pure alien magic. He has zero clue what it even is. After a pulse-stopping burst of calculations, she slams out, "I've got them right where they are, with perfect precision." With a punchy, dramatic flair, she confidently points and tells them exactly which way they need to go. Nokel just tracks her finger, and there it is. Nothing at all, just an endless stretch of empty ocean. He and Aspie can't see a thing, but Genius leans in and swears it's totally fine. Then she brags about being a genius of the sea. Because sure, the queen of seasickness is totally the expert. A little later, Geniaz yanks her hair into place, and when she's done, the cat ears and a tail pop out like a brand new reveal. A shout rings from outside, and she darts to the door, snapping into action like she can't wait for the next step of their journey. Knockwell's eyes lit up. She practically yanked her over to the deck, shouting that she had something she couldn't wait to show her. He jabs his finger at a far-off island and asks, "Is that the Naval Academy you were talking about?" She yanks out a spyglass, eyes popping wide as she spots it right there, exactly where it has to be. Through her lens, Marine Island finally breaks into view, our destination looming on the horizon like a promise. Then Genius fires off a jaw-dropping twist. Turns out that island is her hometown. That name, Marine Island, hits a nerve in Nokel, and he scrambles to remember where he's heard it before. She shrugs it off and says, "It's fine, he doesn't even have to recognize the name." Turns out it used to be a buzzing headquarters for the Navy and pirates alike, but now all that's left is a tiny little village. Noquel is totally stunned by the thought of the Navy and pirates sharing one base and trading stories about a weird, twisted history. He asked to borrow her spyglass for a closer look, and she beamed as she handed it over. The sight hits him hard. This port is packed with naval ships, and Aspie instantly spirals, terrified they're about to get spotted. Genius, now rocking full-on cat ears, spots a dusty, unused port and tells them to slip in and land without a trace. Once the plan locks in, Their magnificent floating village sails cut toward the island, setting up a razor-sharp stealth run. They finally reach the shaky pier, and the whole crew rushes onto solid ground like they've broken free at last. Nokel bursts with relief, grateful they finally made it to shore alive and unbroken. Her face lights up like a sunrise as she beams at him and thanks him for taking her back to her hometown. She's so overwhelmed with gratitude that she even lifts her hat and gives a deep, formal bow, like heartfelt thanks could spill straight into the air. Our boy fires off a sly wink and says he's totally happy to help you figure out that garbage. But Murmersig's face drops into an icy glare. Her instincts snap, and she senses something lurking nearby. She spots a wing jutting out near the crates and snaps to Nokel. Someone's hiding right there. Genius snaps his voice toward the lurker, and a shadowy figure creeps out from behind the boxes, barely showing a sliver of itself. This girl is hiding like her life depends on it, nervous, young, and totally not ready for someone to actually find her. Nokel's mind immediately races to the worst case because the Navy has them. One lone boot kicks out of the shadows, and for a heartbeat, the suspense clamps down like a vice, and, in the shocking twist, it's a kid who looks more terrified of them than anything. He and that murmur singer stared in utter disbelief. There's no way that guy is a high-ranking naval officer. Up close, her bandana shows a skull with crossbones, definitely not the kind of look the Navy is supposed to wear. Genius clocks her in an instant, then erupts, yelling, "Natham!" Her face suddenly ignites with joy, and she launches into a full-speed sprint straight for her. She hurls herself into Genius's arms, and the reunion turns into a tearful, happy crush of a hug right on the edge of breaking down with joy. He just sits there watching it all explode in front of him, and then click, he makes the perfect deduction. They must know each other. Natum finally blurts out, "I've been waiting this whole time just for Genius to come back home." Genius pats his head and keeps apologizing for disappearing for so long, while Nat M just blurts that he wants even more ship lessons. Then she introduces Natum to the crew, straight up telling him these are the people who made her return possible. This kid straight up introduces herself as Nadine, from the Wait Pirate Village like, "Yep, I'm the one from there." Our boy Nokel flashes a charming grin and drops his full, ridiculously formal name, like he's making an entrance. Natium snaps right away, demanding, "Are you really Genius's friend?" Because this guy's a feared, wanted, great sinner. While Nokel spirals into a minor meltdown, Natum can't stop gushing. She's been crushing on Genius forever. Jenna snaps her hand over her mouth the second before she blurts out the truth. She's been battling chronic seasickness the whole time. With a warm smile, she sidesteps the topic and warmly invites the whole crew to her village just to say thanks. He brushes it off fast, calls it a good deal, and then makes it crystal clear getting snagged by the Navy would be a total disaster. She leans in and tells him the academy's kind of tucked away, then promises she'll back them up with the villagers herself. Then Aspie's eyes flare to life the second she hears there's a mountain of old ship trash sitting near the village. That trash-activated garbage kicks Nokel into gear. He snatches Genius and demands everyone see it. His skills are going to be insanely useful. He's bursting with joy, calling this the best welcome ever, while Genia's stunning presence leaves her totally overwhelmed. With a triumphant yell, Nokel rockets into the woods ahead of everyone, daring the rest to catch up. So this wild crew barrels down the forest path straight for the village. Nokel whips around to Aspie, demanding to know if she's feeling uneasy about trailing right behind them. Suddenly, they yank him into ropes, swarm him with pirates brandishing steel, and demand sharp as a blade, whether he's just bait for the pirate healers. Murmersig just watches the chaos unfold, cool as ice, and tells everyone she doesn't believe a genius would waste time setting a trap. Our boy looks back down the path, and for the first time, real worry flashes across his face. Jenna demands to know how she can be so sure, and Murmersig just stays calm, then tells her straight that her senses are what tipped her off. Then she barrels straight into Jenny's personal space and hits her with the wild truth that it's all about a person's smell. A huge all-sniff of Genius's neck lands next, like a totally normal greeting, except, yeah, it's also weird as hell. Murmersig clears the air, saying Genius has nothing to do with hostility. So, yep, everything's totally fine, you guys. Nokel is totally panicked, blurting out, "What the heck is this smell of hostility even supposed to mean?" We barely even start, and boom harpies sniff out people's magic like it's air, and they can even taste the hatred in their intentions. Our boy finally gets it. That's how she sensed Natum, because she could feel the pirates' hostility lurking nearby. Natum suddenly snatches his arm, yanking him back before he can jump to the wrong conclusion. This kid swears that, sure, some pirates are ruthless, but the people in her village are nothing like that. With a face full of pure sincerity, she pleads with him to trust her, swearing they're not the bad guys. Turns out her village lives by the code of that genius data Robin Hood-style pirate who stole from the rich to feed the poor. She even drags them over to a statue of him, claiming, "He taught us piracy is more than theft." Nokel is totally wrecked, blushing hard, like a kid who just ran into his hero's daughter. He whips around to Jinya and starts gushing non-stop her dad was an absolute legend. Then he spots Gina's flat-out face planted, and Mermersig is nowhere to be found. Genius leapt from the ground and snapped that Mermersig flew off the moment it caught that strange haunting smell. Our boy is completely lost. He keeps muttering about some weird smell like it's supposed to magically explain everything. Right then Mermersig rockets out of the sky and dive bombs down, screaming Nokel's name like it's the only thing that matters. She hits the ground in a full-on panic, blurting that something is seriously, dangerously wrong. He whips around, totally stunned. Then she taps his shoulder and steals his attention. She points toward the village, and it's a raging inferno right now, which is not exactly a good sign. Genius and the tomb are hit with pure terror as they realize their whole home is engulfed in flames. This kid is shaking like crazy, totally unable to make sense of the disaster crashing down in front of her. Nokel snaps into leader mode on the spot and orders everyone to move right now. So the entire crew charges through the woods, sprinting straight for the smoke and roaring flames. They're sprinting down the path, and with every step, that firelight flares brighter and brighter. Genius's eyes go wide with sheer terror, and she sprints harder than ever. Right when they're about to explode out of the trees, she slams a hand forward and stops Nokel mid-motion. She jabs a finger toward the village entrance, where a solid line of guardsmen stands watch. It's the Navy standing there watching the whole place go up in flames, and not a single one of them lifts a finger. Mermersig finally figures it out. This isn't help at all. They're just choking off the area with a blockade. She can smell their hostility on the air, and she's sure they're the ones who lit that fire. Genius is totally losing control, screaming that the Navy just shattered their neutrality pact. Meanwhile, Natum is huddled close, whispering to her parents, while pure terror grips her. She's scared out of her mind for them. Nokel gently lays a hand on her shoulder, steadying her just as she starts to fall apart. He leans in and reassures her, promising with full conviction that everything's going to be okay. With the front gate at Ogo looming ahead, our boy starts firing up his brain, cooking up a brand new way to strike back. Then it hits him an insane idea. Why don't we just dive in from the sky? If Mermersig carries Genius's eyes, they'll light up, and with that, they can slip past the Navy completely. He asks if she can handle the weight, and she shrugs it off, casually agreeing like she's born ready for human airlift duty. Mermersig locks in with total, laser-sharp focus. This is it, game time. And she's hurtling through the air, clutching the whole crew like this terrified, screaming human kite that somehow won't stop flapping. Genius is already cursing through her bite-sized panic, her head's mere breaths from getting torn off so much for a stealthy aerial drop. They land in the middle of pure chaos. Naval archers just unleash volley after volley of arrows straight into the crowd. One soldier calmly fletches a fire arrow, completely untouched by the chaos as civilians scramble for their lives. A little boy stays on his knees, shaking with tears, trapped in the brutal wreckage left behind by the attack. A spotless white boot stomps straight into the frame, showing the fallen exactly zero respect. From behind, a naval officer makes a casual comment about how great the place is burning while a subordinate snaps a salute right in front of him. Meet Colonel Washa, the man whose nose looks like it could stab enemies. Then watch him declare, loud and brutal, that every pirate out there is trash. With a truly villainous grin, he barks at his men to keep torching everything they see. This psycho whips out a pop quiz and demands the terrified villagers name the most respected captain. Right away, his soldiers burst into screaming his name, pure, terrified loyalty, or maybe straight-up terror. Then Washer leans in and demands, "So who's the strongest man on the sea?" And you can practically hear him savoring his own name. His men scream his name again, and he flashes the most punchable, smug grin you can practically hear, like he's loving every second of it. But the moment he sees that crying boy, his courage crumbles. Then he coldly spits out, "Wrong." This kid snaps his head up, glaring at the colonel, and dares him, "I'm not the strongest at all." Tears pour down his face as he screams that the true strongest is a man named Francis. We catch a flash of the legendary pirate Francis, a real hero, the kind who apparently kept this village safe. Then this kid snaps. He tells the colonel to get lost, and calling him Big Nose turns out to be a truly fatal mistake. Wash's men just freeze in pure horror because they can see it. Their boss's ego just took a brutal hit right to the face. He splashes water on his face, then twists into a smug, chilling grin like he's savoring every second of this little power trip. He shoots his subordinate a quick nod, then stares at the archer like, wow, that guy looks like he just swallowed a whole bug. Do it, burn the kid and dump the rest of this trash too, because of course they'd make it your problem. That poor kid's frozen stiff with terror, just bracing for the absolute worst to hit any second. This archer suddenly stammers, stunned to the core at a command that demands he hurt a child. He actually tries to object, saying their target is, like, a literal kid. Washa instantly snatches him by the collar, and it's obvious she's got zero patience for disobedience. With ice-cold rage in his eyes, he snaps. Why would anyone hesitate to wipe out the garbage? This soldier's face is totally freaking out like, I picked the worst career possible, and now there's no going back. Washer slams his boot onto a pirate flag, then rages on and on about how heroes like Francis disgust him. He grabs the poor guy by the shoulders and starts shaking him hard, shouting that every single pirate is dangerous, no exceptions. This soldier desperately tries to beg for the kid's life only, for his plea to choke up and die in his throat. Then, the threat hits Washa, demands to know if the soldier and his whole family are garbage too, because subtlety is the last thing on his mind. And just like that, the soldier's spine crumples apart, turning pure fear into a cold, trembling puddle. He yanks his fire arrow into place, pleading with everything in him for his family to be spared, as he obeys that monstrous command and keeps moving. His hand trembles like it's possessed, and somehow he manages to keep the bow from wobbling out of control. Cornered with no other move, he hurls the flaming arrow straight at the boy. Wash's grin is pure demon energy. He's getting exactly what he came for. This kid can only freeze in terror watching the arrow shriek as it rockets straight for him. In the flash of his eye, the soldier who fired is already sprinting off, like he knows he can't stay. But in the last heartbeat, a blinding flash slashes through the air and smashes the arrow mid-flight. Then there is, and Nukul kneels protectively in front of the boy, clutching a glowing ring in his hand. His skill obliterates the flaming arrow so fast it turns to duscon like it never existed. Wiping his face, he stared at the mess like, what the hell just happened? Our hero pops up to his feet and plants himself right between the kid and the naval officers who can't even process what they're seeing. Behind him, the kid stares up, stunned because whether he's a pirate or not suddenly doesn't matter at all. Nukul's eyes narrowed and one thought slammed into him. No excuse could ever justify hurting a helpless child. A blazing aura erupts around him as he thrusts his ring out and snaps, "You're the real garbage." Washa takes a hard drag from his cigar and barks that he needs answers. Who is this nobody? Because they're definitely not from around here. Our boy locks eyes with him and doesn't blink, totally unshaken by all that military posturing. His face goes stone cold because this loudmouth has absolutely no clue he's standing in front of a prince. This colonel grits out that this newcomer is the same guy who just crushed his soldiers' attack with. Washa's smug grin widens as he tests our boy. Can he actually take out an entire squad? Then Washa barks, "Take aim." Noko's eyes narrow like a blade, and it's clear he's not backing down from this fight for a second. With a sudden burst of fury, he lashes out and kicks over a massive pile of burning wooden planks. He shoots the kid a fast apology for borrowing the house, then lifts his ring and unleashes his skill. Washa snaps out the command, and his men unleash the arrows without hesitation. A brutal volley of arrows screams straight toward Nukul right at the wreckage he's standing beside. His hand ignites with light as he fires off his skill, poised to shut down the whole attack in one strike. And with that insane recycle skill, all that smashed up wood rockets into the air and snaps into place as a massive shield. That arrow just asterisk thuds into the junky wooden wall, doesn't even scratch it. Nukul's recycle skill slams a whole house into an airtight, arrow-shielded fortress. Nothing slips in, nothing escapes. Washa and his goons just freeze on the spot, utterly stunned that their attack hit nothing at all, like it vanished into thin air. Behind that wall, the kid and his mom can only stare in stunned silence as their home straight up protects them like it's saving their lives. But Nukul won't stop. He shoots his hand out, determined to rip this defense apart and turn it into a brutal assault. Suddenly, random piles of household junk start blasting through the air like they've got a mission. All that wreckage twists and slams together until it becomes one huge, rage-filled fist straight at the Navy. Soldiers snap their heads upward in pure terror because their doom, built out of furniture, is dropping right on top of them. It just keeps swelling into a massive arm, and no cuts in playtime is officially over. With a furious roar, our boy whips his giant junculum arm straight through the enemy line. Washa lunges in and tries to stop the incoming Trashalink with his bare hands, pure madness. Let's see if it actually pays off. And we smash cut to his face, twisting in full-blown panic, pure and unfiltered. This junk fist smashes down with jaw-dropping force, and the soldiers scatter everywhere like bowling pins kicked off the lane. His men get smashed to pieces by barrels and planks, getting totally humiliated in the most undignified defeat imaginable. This kid just freezes on the spot, mouth hanging open as the full-on chaos erupts in front of him. Wash has gone totally unhinged. He's screaming at his men to unleash every ounce of power and crush Noko. A hilariously brave or absolutely reckless soldier storms right in with a sword raised, determined to follow that crazy order. He doesn't even get close boom. He's blasted into the air and slams his face into the ground like a wrecking ball. That soldier lies there twitching on the ground, screaming a brutal warning to anyone else who thinks they can try something smart. Right then, backup rockets in Ingenia and Murmursig slam down right in the middle of the chaos. Genius drops right into the middle of the chaos, fists clenched, demanding to know what the hell is going on. A crumpled soldier spots her and immediately recognizes her as the famous pirate's daughter. Then the harpy hits, and she snaps completely, furious beyond control. He scrambles to Washa, barking that they can't afford a fight with that harpy and that they've got to pull back smart before things get ugly. Washa's cigar just drops out of his mouth with a pathetic plop so much for his tough guy act. He snaps a dramatic command for a full retreat, then swears he won't forget the little stunt he just got hit with. With that single move, the whole naval force panics and bolts for the hills. This villager watched their tormentors scatter, then erupted into wild cheers for their totally unexpected saviors. Knuckle dusts off his hands and lets out a calm remark, like the chaos is finally gone, and everything has settled for good. Jenna panicked that the Navy had spotted his face, and Noko shot back that he never even clocked the fact he was a prince. He flashes a bright thumbs up and grins that it's all good, because the Navy never would have recognized him back when he was just another face in the trash pile days. Now that the danger is finally gone, Noko swings into action and declares it's time to help the villagers rebuild their lives. Genius just gapes at him, eyes huge and buzzing like he's seeing something straight out of a dream. Right when it happens, a sudden wave of dizziness slams into Knuckle out of nowhere. He suddenly drops to his knees, hands flying to his head, while Genius shouts his name in panic. Our boy is absolutely spent, and he can't figure out why his body just suddenly turned to pure lead-heavy, drained and exhausted. Genius and the team snap to it right away. This is the backlash from his skill, and it's hitting hard. Natham says building that giant junk arm had to burn through an absolutely ridiculous amount of energy. Nokul fights to his feet, swearing he's fine and only needs a quick breath before he can carry on. Right as the crew whips around to help, they're instantly confronted by the back of a woman wearing a floral bandana. They come face to face, and it's a group of villagers staring at them like they're anything but thankful. This lead villager clocks Nokul as the executed Prince of Alkens, and yeah, so much for keeping a low profile. Genius and Atum immediately spiral into full-blown panic, scrambling to swear he's not a bad guy. But just like that, no fight at all. A huge feast slams onto the table, and it's a full-on plot twist. Okay, plot twist. Turns out that furious mob wasn't here to attack at all. It was a welcome party, and they were shouting at the crew like they just saved the whole village. Nokul is left totally stunned like, why would they be so kind to a wanted criminal like him? This villager leans in and says, I didn't just beat Washa. I rebuilt our whole town from the ground up with my own skill. With a booming laugh, the guy blurts out that Nokul saved his life and tells him, now come on, just eat. With a quick pause, our guy finally caves in and digs right in, fully accepting their hospitality. This whole crew dives into a feast as Nokul finally admits it's downright nice to eat on solid ground for once. Even still, the Murmuring Guild and the geniuses grin as they stuff their faces, completely wiping the earlier danger from their minds. The genius smiles politely and thanks the man for sharing that precious food with him. That single word snaps Noko's focus. He suddenly realizes the village is starving and the food supply has run out. We get another jaw-dropping look at the legendary pirate Francis. Yeah, the man looked ruthless, but you could tell he had a real soft spot for kids. Jinna's, meanwhile, is pure bliss. She's totally oblivious, quietly devouring her meal like nothing in the world could ever touch her. Nokul blurts out Francis the moment he hears it, and suddenly the kid's whole story snaps into place. That kid from before suddenly bursts back into the scene, grinning ear to ear, and blurts out, "Hey, Prince, do you know my hero?" He tells him, "Francis ripped me out of slavery, and he brought every one of those orphans here so we could finally be a real family." Then Booma Villager drops the bombshell like it's nothing, and reveals that the mighty pirate Francis is actually Jinya's father. Natim wears a worried look as she blurts out that Francis vanished a while back. The moment the villagers lower their eyes, the whole room drops into a heavy silence. The celebration is officially dead. This lead villager starts talking, and before long, he's telling you it's been ages since it all kicked off. Turns out, Francis sailed out one day just to corner the king of Alkeen and have a face-to-face chat. Nokul is totally stunned, blurting out, "Why would that pirate even want to meet my dad?" Right before he disappeared, Francis was scrambling to crack a major problem threatening the island. Nadim lists a rotten apple core and tells everyone he's trying to clean up the island's trash. And our boy's jaw drops as it finally clicks. Garbage isn't just trash, it's the reason the food's running out. These local fish are gobbling toxic, magical debris. And if you dare to eat them, you're signing up for deadly poison, the kind of 5-star nightmare no one wants. Because the islanders couldn't handle it alone, Francis sprinted to the kingdom begging them for help. Nokul finally clicks this magical pollution is the real culprit behind the village's famine. With her father's mission still hanging unfinished, Jenna rises to her feet like she's about to seize the reins. Her fist tightens with iron resolve. She's decided, and she's seeing this through no matter what. She snaps into a fearless pose, swears she'll shield everyone from trash and villains alike, and the moment lands like pure heroic death. This villager is completely erupting, fully fired up after her bold declaration that she'll be their new protector. They're already whispering that she'll be the next captain, and the whole room is buzzing with pure, unstoppable hype. Nokul stands there beaming, proud as can be, because watching her finally find her purpose feels like winning. He whips around and calls Jinya's name, and just like that, he grabs her attention. With a hard, serious stare, he tells her he's finally getting why her father is worshipped around here. Yeah, he's so fired up that he leans in close, begging for more tales about the legendary pirate. Genius freezes for a heartbeat, then a massive, joyful grin explodes across her face. Across the room, she flashes a bright, cheerful yes, ready to spill every one of her father's stories. Back at this ultra-official naval base, someone's about to get hit with a report so furious it could burn holes through the paper. And yeah, someone is absolutely livid. He slams his fist onto the desk and the whole room erupts with a loud crash. This brand new official, flaunting a truly villainous nose, is losing it, screaming that some trash dared to humiliate him. Now that Francis is gone, he's screaming that this is the perfect opening to wipe out that entire village once and for all. His subordinate nervously blurts that they can't just wing it. They'll need a real plan to take down the Harpy and figure out that mysterious skill user. That long-nosed villain clenches his jaw and grinds his teeth, raging because Jenna dragged along extra companions to the party. Rage is bubbling in him as he can't believe she just corralled a pack of monsters and somehow inherited her father's gift for leadership. Another soldier smirks, like he already expected nothing less from Francis's daughter, while his terrified colleague can barely hold it together. And just for that smart little comment, bam, someone drives a fist straight into his face. Bon appétit. It was the long-nosed official who launched the strike himself, his fist blooming bloody as he glares down the insolent goon. This guy snaps. He starts screaming at his underling, furious that he dared to praise the enemy right in front of him. He then lashes out with a swift kick to the downed soldier, convinced that positive reinforcement is the only lesson worth teaching. Blood spits sludge across his shiny metal like it's a stage, snarling that this trash can't even fathom his glorious achievements. Teeth bared and eyes blazing with pure rage, he roars that their kind doesn't belong in this world. Back in the village, the night falls dead quiet. Just one blazing window keeps glowing like it's hiding something big. Inside, Nokul sprawls to rest, replaying the chaos in his head like, no way, today got wild. It hits him like lightning. Francis's unfinished business matches his dream perfectly, down to the last detail. He stares at his ring, thinking this new mission might finally keep Genius planted on his raft. Right then, a cat-eared girl's silhouette suddenly pops up at his doorstep. This door groans as it swings open, and the tomb steps in calling out your name like he owns the place, while you're standing there with big genius expectations, And yeah, it's not that. Nokul drops a casual, "What's up?" But you can see the surprise hit him hard when she shows up this late at night. His eyes flare wider just a notch as he clocks the shocking twist in front of him. Nadim blurts out an apology for bothering him, saying she just had to see him. Then her nerves spike as she admits she's got something crucial she needs to talk about. With a trembling, bashful smile, she asks if it's okay for her to slip into his room for a little while. Our hero, pure gentleman to the core, beams and ushers her inside, then offers his own bed, because the room has exactly 0 chairs. She flashes him a polite thank you, then drops onto the very edge of the mattress like she's ready for whatever comes next. Right there, Nokul can't ignore it tonight. She's giving off a totally different, way more grown-up vibe. Then she scoots over on the bed, inching closer to him like she's about to spill a secret. Nukel loses her cool, completely shults back, yelps out an apology, and tries to act like it's all totally smooth, buddy. He fights for control, tells her to breathe, and demands she finally say what's on her mind. Nadim goes dead serious and tells him she's here for one reason. There's something only she can say to him, and it can't wait. He's baffled that it's only him, but she snaps back that she won't let the other villagers worry. Outside, the full moon blazes overhead, casting a heavy shadow over their secret meeting. She finally drops the truth, revealing the real reason she was shipwrecked and cast out on the open sea. We smash straight into a flashback. Young Nadim races to her dad and calls out to him. Her father, a huge, friendly-looking pirate, whips around and demands to know what's wrong. She asks if he's headed back to play righteous pirate again, straight up on Navy orders. And then he just burst into laughter, claiming they're like cats that help people, not because they have to, but because they simply choose to. And boom, there it is. Their pirate flag with that adorable yet dead serious cat face staring back, proving his point for everyone watching. Her father proudly dubs them the Sea Cat Pirates, a wild crew that sails by its own heart. A way younger Nadim practically glows, utterly swept up by the pure magic of romance. Perched on his shoulders, she throws her arms up and shouts that she's going to be a pirate, no doubt about it, when she grows up. He carefully lowers her off his shoulders, and for one heartbeat, her wild excitement just stops. He drops to one knee, tells her it's not that simple, then flashes a smile and says, "You're my daughter." With a proud grin, he pats her head and promises that someday she'll rise as a heavenly king. No doubt. Right then, a naval officer yells for Francis, and he snaps to his feet, ready to bolt out the door. She grabs his attention and demands, "Why are you leaving on the Golden Lynx instead of our own ship?" Francis admits the kingdom despises pirates, so joining the Navy is the only ticket he's got to get into that castle. With one last wave, he hands Jinya the job: protect the Sea Cats until he comes back. And that flashback slams us right back into the quiet, moonlit room of the present. Nadim grabs Nokul's attention and flat out tells her, "That was the last time I ever saw my father alive," after he vanished. Washa and a crew of officials barreled into the village with grim news that hit like a punch. The long-nosed official slams the verdict, Francis is dead, and orders the Sea Cats to scatter and shut down. This lead villager is seething with rage, demanding to know why they're putting them through this. That creep grins and smugly claims their ship was always owned by the kingdom, so now it's just being repossessed. But the villager snaps that Francis has a daughter, Jinya, and she deserves to sit on the throne as the rightful heir. Are these villains just smirking at her, waving off the idea that a kid could inherit anything like it's all smoke and mirrors? A nasty thought crawls into his mind as he taps his pipe, and he can't stop wondering, what if? Then he tosses out a wicked deal. If Genius wants to keep her ship, she'll have to snag a privateer's license from the Naval Academy. This lead villager snatches a younger Genius, and the moment the kid inheriting the ship idea hits, fury explodes in him, and our long-nosed villain leans in, smirking like she owns the moment, and tells her it's just too bad, because the outcome is already sealed. With a gleeful grin, she explains, the academy runs 4 years, and the ship will be gone by the time her second year rolls around. In his head, there's no chance in hell she's making it there on time. But Jinnah grips her father's hat with white-knuckled force, her face set in ironclad, unbreakable resolve. Against every reason, she still marched into the Naval Academy, determined to prove everyone dead wrong. She just stands there like a total outsider, while every other cadet stares at her like something's off. She's decided she'll graduate in just 2 years, and everyone's staring like that's totally impossible. The other students just laugh at her dreams and start pelting her with trash while she keeps studying. Even her books come wrapped in cheeky little notes like, "See garbage and get lost." Even with the bullying tearing at her, she clings to one truth: zero isn't the final answer, because there's still a chance. She hurls herself into brutal training, grinding her body until it hits the absolute limit, and it all explodes in her favor. Her name rockets to the very top of the class rankings, leaving everyone stunned. This jaw-dropping performance immediately grabs the attention of a top-ranking fleet admiral, an extremely decorated old man who's seen everything. He tells them a special system exists for extraordinary kids to jump ahead, and he can choose to skip their grades whenever he wants. With a dramatic flourish, he straight up promotes the genius from Class 2 to Class 4, and the villain's face twists in pure horror. That long-nosed creep can only break into nervous sweat and nod along, because with the big boss looming over him, he can't exactly argue. Genius wipes tears from her eyes and accepts the promotion, thanking the Admiral again and again for giving her the chance. Even though Washa clearly hates her, he's got zero power to overturn the Fleet Admiral's final call. Thanks to that promotion, she finally got to sit for her graduation exam, a mock sea battle right before her 2-year deadline hit. It's a one-on-one mock battle. Your mission is simple: tag the enemy ship with special magic and claim the win. And it all spiraled into a total disaster, mostly because Ginia couldn't stop getting violently seasick. She stumbles back to the dock, crushed and silent, finally admitting she couldn't land a single move out there. This fleet admiral tells her it's a real shame everything about her is flawless, but her practical skills just aren't up to par. But as Francis's daughter, he makes a rare exception, urging her to try again on a different ship. Washa clenched his jaw so hard in the background it looked like it might snap, boiling with rage over this obvious favoritism. For her second shot, Ginia decides to take the exam aboard her father's ship, the Sea Cat. She even squeezes into her dad's old pirate uniform, chasing a little of his courage right into the fight. A fresh spark burns in her eyes, and she thinks, maybe this is exactly the confidence I've been waiting for. But the cadets who got stuck assigned to her crew are already barking at her to get off the ship because the battle is about to start. They're calling her sea garbage, like it's an insult. And they claim the lieutenant colonel ordered them to shut her down and not lift a finger to help her. Jenna lunges forward, desperately reaching out and begging them to hold on for just 1 second. She can't exactly captain a massive ship solo, so they just row off and leave her stranded completely alone. That's when the enemy ship finally erupts in gunfire, and there's no mistaking it for practice. A brutal volley of real cannonballs comes roaring in, screaming straight for her vessel. They smash into the hull and rip the deck open. Massive bone-jolting explosions erupt right on contact. Genius gets hurled across the deck as her father's legacy gets shredded into splinters. That massive crack in the entire ship is ripping it to pieces like it's being obliterated from the inside out. On the ground, she snaps too. The truth: this isn't the test's harmless spell at all. It's a real combat assault. From the other ship, one cadet just freezes and stares as the whole destruction rips into existence. This lead cadet on the enemy ship panics and hammers the radio, begging Washa for fresh orders. He claims they've finally found the isolated genius, but then he admits landing a hit on her is way harder than he expected. Washa tells him to play dumb later, file it as an accident, and then send in the skeletons to wipe her out for good. With a face only a mother could loathe, he sneers that this sea garbage needs a proper burial. His subordinate wastes no time, snapping into action, and orders the skeletons readied for launch. And by launch, they mean they literally catapult barrels straight onto her deck, because apparently pain is the point. A barrel came crashing down beside Jinya's. She's totally blindsided by the bizarre attack, and she's trying to make sense of it all, as her ship gets bombarded with party favors straight from hell's Sudden. Suddenly, one barrel groans and cracks explode from the inside, splintering it into pieces. A skeletal hand smashes straight through the wood, and before you can blink, it's not just a prank. It's a murder in a box. An armored skeleton crawls out and stands there, leaving the genius completely frozen in shock. Turns out Washa didn't mess around. He sent a whole platoon of those bony goons just to make sure every last detail was covered. Genius is completely terrified because it finally clicks that this was never a test at all. One of them charges in with a sword swing, and she barely twists out of the way. Steel only skims her as it grazes her. Cornered and bleeding, she bolts toward the captain's cabin, chasing one last desperate chance. She lunges in at the last second and slams that heavy door shut behind her, like it's the only thing holding the world at bay. Inside, he collapses in total shock, and the whole room rattles as the ship keeps getting ripped apart. She grips her leg in terror, and the moment she feels it, she realizes that last dodge didn't save her. She got cut deeper than she ever imagined. Her vision starts to blur, fast blood drains out, shock hits hard, and her consciousness starts slipping away and back in the present, Nat M breaks it down. This is the moment she blacked out. Right before Nokel drifted in and found her floating out at sea. As she spills her tale, Nokel's fist tightens so fiercely the whole bed starts rattling. Rage detonates in him, and Jinya jerks back, completely stunned by the blast of his reaction. In his head, there's just one grim thought. Scumbag Washa was totally okay with letting her die. Genius scrambles to calm him down, blurting out apologies for unloading all of this on him, but Nokel's rage snaps off like a switch, replaced by ice-cold, unshakable resolve. He locks eyes with her and asks what they're doing next. So, is she really about to quit the license? Cat-like eyes narrowed, burning with a fiery no way so intense it felt like a threat. Staring out the window, she vows she'll never quit. She won't abandon her father's dream, or the one burning inside her. Noku leans in and tells her softly, to bring the sea cats back, you'll have to confess everything. But that trauma slams into her like a wrecking ball. She's terrified they'll ditch her again and label her sea garbage like before. And our boy just flashes that grin. Goes, sea garbage. Like it's perfect, because of course he would say that. Genius is totally stunned because that weirdly cheerful answer from him has him completely baffled. He whirls back to her and declares, "You're not alone anymore, because you've got friends now." She's still shaking with doubt, scared to death of what happens when she crashes the next mock battle. Nokel snaps out a glowing artifact and swears he'll turn Genius into something unreal, something truly amazing. Hit by that weirdly wholesome support, she suddenly cracks and sobs, pure relief flooding her. Meanwhile, outside the door, a harpy and some kid have been eavesdropping on the whole conversation. The sun claws up over the island, and with that sunrise comes a fresh new day and a brand new plan starting to form. Somewhere else, breakfast is sizzling on the table, and someone keeps shouting for Nokel while grilled fish wafts through the air. A mermaid girl clutches a fish on a stick and boards out, "Where is Jinya?" while everyone starts lining up their priorities. This mermaid and the genius are stuffing themselves with fish, scanning the water like, where in the world did Nokel go? Speak of the devil, Jenna clocks him stomping up the path with a super grumpy local in tow. Nokel grins and says he spotted the guy in the scrapyard, even as the man's annoyance visibly flares. He races his grilled fish, admits his stomach growled, and says he caught it out in the bay himself. This tips the local straight into full-on panic. He's losing it, screaming at the top of his lungs. He grabs Nokel, yanks him toward the truth, and shouts that the local fish are contaminated, demanding he spit it out right now. Our boy, looking just a little green, snaps up his hand to stop him cold. With a smug grin, Nokel leans in and tells everyone he's totally fine chowing down on polluted junk. Even the genius and the local just stand there, mouths open, because that sentence scrambles their brains so hard they can't even process it. A flashback drags him back to his pampered prince, days where that sealed-up life finally cracks, and he can't stop wondering about the toxic fish lurking outside the castle. His first taste test naturally went horribly wrong. He collapsed on the ground like he was about to die, proving that science doesn't play around. So he just kept shoveling them down while cooking up antidotes, daring fate as he poisoned himself again and again to build immunity. And now he's proudly standing his ground, pushing back so hard that his new friends feel like their souls have just slipped out of their bodies. This mermaid and the turtle kid are basically pleading with everyone, don't try this at home, because what they're doing is straight up insane. Genius steps in like a pro, cutting the moment to demand, so how'd the real plan go? The story cuts to her standing in a spotless office, reporting to an official with full formal respect. And yep, Washa just sneers at her completely unhinged demand to retake the mock battle. With a smirk, he tells her, "I already filed you as dead with the fleet admiral. So yeah, it's a bit late." Then a nasty little thought slithers in, and you can practically see him stop and rethink everything. Washer nods and agrees to the retest, and the genius beams and thanks him, completely blind to the fact that this is just another trap. Washa, of course, throws in one tiny catch with his generous offer. This deal's ruthless. If she fails this round, the military will snatch her father's entire fortune. He's cackling like, only the truly superior deserve riches like this. And he spits on some loser who can't even clear a test. And if she dares to refuse, he leans in with a casual smirk, hinting another accident could rain down on her village. Total blackmail, with With no way out, Guineas swallows his fear and quietly agrees to every single one of his terms trapped, with no escape. With her friends beside her, she balls her fists and declares, loud and clear, the rematch is officially on. Now, her whole world crashes. Her dad's ship is gone, and she's terrified she'll have to rely on some substitute vessel. But Nokal just smirks, clutching the turtle kid tight, while a harpy drops in behind him already ready to make her move. He suddenly clamps onto her wrist, ready to yank her straight into his next brilliant, probably insane brainwave. And just like that, with a sly come on, he drags a wildly confused genius right into the chaos. This whole crew barrels through the woods behind him, closing in on the secret project he's been hiding. Noko points straight at the horizon and snaps, "Just look." Her eyes flare wide with pure, jaw-dropping disbelief at what she's seeing, because the pier is home to a massive, fully rigged pirate ship storm-ready and itching for battle. Genius can barely squeak out its own name, the Golden Lynx, while Nokul just grins like he's soaking in the spotlight. He admits he needed a pirate ship, so he just took a raft, scavenged parts, and built the whole thing like it was no big deal. Even with that incredible gift, Guinea can't help herself. She's still peeking around the mast, shaking with pure terror. She whips around to Noquel, her voice trembling with doubt as she finally spills her biggest fear. Even on this incredible ship, her seasickness still slams her flat on her back. She's grateful, but panic claws at her, terrified she'll see this new ship shattered the same way and have to relive that nightmare all over again. Right when she starts spiraling, a scrapyard local yells her name and calls out to her. And right behind him, the whole village is fired up, every single person geared and ready to throw down. Genius's jaw drops in total shock as he blurts, "Why is everyone here?" With a smug little grin, the harpy casually admits she caught every tearful detail of her sob story the night before. Nadam says that the moment they heard she was bringing the pirates back to life, they called everyone in and swept the whole crew into action. This local guy finally realizes Wash's whole scheme was to steal her fortune and break the village right afterward. Nokul cradles the turtle kid, grins like he already won, and tells everyone this is their counterplan. Then he snaps into a pose and declares, "Boom, she's got our crew," for the mock battle. Genius's mind just flatlines, his brain can't process that kind of chaotic support at all. A second later, it all clicks, and she completely snaps. She snatches Nokul by the arm and blurts out, panicked, that the crew is already locked in, ordered straight from Washa himself. But the local throws a thumbs up from a shack, where Wash's crew is tied up and sound asleep. Even with everything on the line, Genius still stalls, grimacing as she clings to one last excuse, her crippling seasickness. Suddenly, a turtle kid shows up out of nowhere and tells her, "Don't worry, there's nothing to fear." He tells them they had to pour magic into the ship itself, so it stays rock solid and won't even sway. She whips her gaze around and finally realizes the deck under her feet has gone dead still. She whips back to the locals and tells them, "This whole thing is simple. Everyone's just doing whatever they want." He flashes a grin, calls it the Sea Cat way, and then hands her a captain's hat. Her hand inches out and lands on the familiar cat etched in Crossbone's emblem. Overwhelmed, she whips her head toward Nokul, finally letting herself take in the wild, incredible help they're offering. Pressing the hat to her chest, she chokes back tears and thanks them from the bottom of her heart. Nokul, with his wild crew charging behind him, turns to her and hyped her like crazy, swearing they'll smash the win. She snaps on the hat and fully throws herself into the captain's role, steering this chaotic misfit crew like she was born for it. She thrusts a fist into the air and vows, "I'm borrowing your strength for this fight." The whole village erupts in cheers, and with that, they officially name the new Genius pirate crew. The scene snaps to Nokul on a raft, fresh off crafting a brand new outfit for the turtle kid. Nadam decides to channel his humanoid form and try on the fresh new threads. This transformation slams into full effect, and she's now fully draped over a totally, wildly startled nodule. He snaps awake on the dock, shaking with panic, praying that whole thing was only a crazy dream. Meanwhile, the harpy flaunts the berries she grew and tells everyone they can drop the worry about food for good. Turns out these magical berries aren't just tasty miracles, they double as soap too, and honestly, that's way too convenient. Natim tells them the islanders used to scrub off garbage and grime with all kinds of weird fruits. This somehow spiraled into a full-blown garbage worship cult, leaving Nosal utterly, jaw-droppingly stunned. With all those fresh resources finally in hand, they can filter clean water and cook real meals at last. This harpy can't stop asking why he's even bothering to tidy things up, because he knows they'll be yanked back out again any moment. He opens his mouth to explain, and right then a whole flock of crows rockets in, swooping down and snatching everything in sight. Noko's tears spill as he rants that wild birds keep raiding his supplies to build their nests. This fight is no joke. His next project? A magic-powered grill? And yeah, he's pumped, but he'll admit he doesn't have the juice to fire it up yet. This harpy flat out admits she can't use magic either, and Natum just snaps. Stop. Natum leans back like an old hand and admits he's got zero clue how these newfangled magical gadgets even function. Natum lays it out some magic-flinging bully went on a rampage. And that's why the islanders' faith shattered overnight. With everything locked in, Nokul breaks the news everybody's boarding the ship now, because they're about to fire up that magic cannon. This turtle kid immediately blurts out, "Do we really need a giant cannon?" praying it won't come to that. But the harpy snaps back that they're going to need real firepower, because nobody can promise they'll make it there in one safe piece. This slams him into a flashback, Nokul getting hunted down by giant monsters, like that chaos is just his normal Tuesday. Back on the main island, Genius finally made her grand return, right on schedule to deliver her report. Washa, ever the creep, crouched at the window, spying, making sure he really heard she demanded a rematch. A top admiral finally relents and grants her request, but the moment he does, he slams down a final order, "Mess this up," and she's done for good. His subordinate drops into a bow and vows he'll bring the final test results straight back. This guy's fist clamps down on a device that snaps shut with chilling, no-turning-back finality, and Wash's radiating straight-up villain energy. 100% sure there's no way sea garbage can ever get through. He whips his gaze across his swanky office, already mentally counting the fortune he's about to snatch. Right then, a soldier smashed into the room and instantly blew up his villain monologue. A panicked soldier blurted out that Genius's entire crew roster had been mysteriously swapped out, every single one. This news slams into Wash's brain like a lightning strike, and he drops his pen cap in stunned shock. Cut to the docks. There it is, the colossal golden lynx, already fueled up and ready to tear into the fight. On deck, a pocket watch ticks like a threat, and you can feel this test is about to start any second. A crewmate shouts her name right on cue because the moment she's been waiting for is finally here. With hands steady as stone, Genia straightens her new captain's coat, her eyes burning with unshakable resolve. She whips around and dives headfirst into the pirate life. Ahoy, mates. And, yeah, that glow-up is seriously real. This crew scrubs, loads, and readies the colossal pirate ship, the Golden Lynx, for the fight ahead. A banner plastered with a cat's skull and crossbones snaps in the wind, blazing their departure like a warning to everyone watching. A wild Jolly Roger with a fierce cat face snaps in the wind from the ship's sails. This magic cannon is primed and roaring with power and eyeball-like orb, glowing bright, practically trembling with anticipation for the fight. Genia finally commits to her captain persona, lifting a spyglass and sweeping the horizon like she's hunting destiny. The Academy's second-ranked hotshot arrives on, a massive naval ship crashing through choppy seas like it's daring fate to stop it. That rival captain sharp-eyed and stone-faced locks onto the coming pirate ship. A sinister grin curves on the rival captain's lips as he eagerly waits for the clash to hit. He spots the Golden Lynx rolling in and instantly clocks it as Genia's ship. This rival captain snaps that the fight is finally underway and the stakes are through the roof. The episode flashes to a training ground where one crew member sprints in circles while the other struggles to breathe, panting like they're barely keeping up. This rival captain stands perched on the magic cannon, gripping the moment like he's about to unleash the first command. That magic cannon locks onto a weird, spiky projectile, then starts getting ready to blast it out of the sky. This rival captain shoots his hand up, signaling the moment the attack explodes. A magic cannon blast rips across the water straight toward Genia's ship. This golden link gets slammed by an incoming projectile, sparks flying as it tears another sails right in the chaos. Another blast rips through the air and narrowly misses the golden lynx, then detonates with a huge splash that erupts everywhere. Genius, dressed like a pirate captain, barks fierce orders at her crew, her determination blazing like fire. At the helm, a villager locks eyes on the horizon and clutches the wheel like it's life itself, steering with laser-focused intensity. A golden link slithers through the water, darting out of the way as a storm of gunfire comes blasting in. This golden lynx gets slammed by another shot, and splinters of wood explode across the deck. Her rival is left speechless, staring at what just happened like, how in the world did they even get that shot off from that range? The genius just shrugs and calmly spells it out, This combat magic is practical, not mystical, and you better get used to it, buddy. Elsewhere, Washa snaps completely, yelling that they're breaking the rules again. She stands her ground, and once she accepted the rematch, she's been ready for this no backing down. It slams her into a flashback, an officer back in that old test, pointing at her like she'd broken every rule. That same cat-eared officer now clocks it. Washa has been blackmailing Jinya this whole time. Her fists clench with fury as the blackmail scheme finally snaps into place. On the rival ship, they crank up another barrage. 3 magic cannons blaze with a deadly glow. A lookout shouts that the next attack is already charging in no time to catch her breath. Genius narrows her eyes like a laser pure focus, and not an ounce of fear left anywhere in her. Without blinking, she snaps an order to the helmsman, slam into the enemy head-on. Now the Turtle Kid is flipping out, panicking like, "Wait, are you seriously planning to take that hit head-on?" 3 magical projectiles cut across the water, dead on for the Golden Lynx. Yeah, but our girl just smirks and boon. It's clear their ship is loaded with magical armor far beyond what anyone can see. Battered by the wind, she snaps a magical banner on the mast to life. A colossal magical barrier explodes into existence right before the ship's bow. Her plan is to unleash it and wipe out that incoming magical blast totally, completely, no leftovers. The enemy's shot crashed into the water with a brutal splash, their impact completely fizzing out before it could even kiss the hull. This rival captain just freezes in stunned silence, realizing she nailed the exact power behind his attack perfectly. On deck, Jinya digs her heels in, and her misfit crew burns with excitement right behind her. One of the villagers stares in shock and blurts that it feels like she literally watched the future unfold right in front of her. The chime from the yard confirms she didn't miss a single beat, tracking every move of theirs. That sparks a brutal flashback, back when her foresight saved her old crew again and again, over and over, from disaster. He gets stone serious as he remembers how her father, Francis, used to talk about her gift. She could read the sky and the sea like a secret map, tracking every shift in the currents, and then the wind, the clouds, and even the birds told her what was about to hit. Turns out her father, the legendary pirate, drilled her in naval tactics and taught her how the enemy's minds tick. Her power is straight up bonkers. She reads the whole battlefield like it's in slow motion, clocking every detail and calling the enemy's next move before they even make it. It costs under 6 cents, yet it's basically a supercomputer brain running live battle simulations in real time. Now her seasickness is finally gone, and you're watching the real genius at work. Through her spyglass, she spies the enemy pulling their forces back together on their ship. She watches them already line up the next volley, slamming magic into their cannons as she shoots a hand up and barks for her crew to charge right at them, eyes glued forward and on high alert. This golden ship slides up beside the rival vessel, pure audacity, bold as brass and zero fear. Her rival captain snaps completely, screaming at his helmsman to outmaneuver her, but Genius is already 5 steps ahead, and he just calmly clocks it like, "If this is a race, I'm already gone." Suddenly, massive, magic-charged ore pods burst out from the Golden Lynx's hull like they're breaking free. With a violent burst of speed, they rip away from the naval ship and vanish into the distance. Right there in the perfect spot, she aims and snaps out the final command starboard gunners. Fire! This rival captain has officially snapped. He's screaming at his crew to pull off something right now. The Golden Lynx of the broadside snapped open and launched a full barrage straight at the naval vessel. The cannons slam into the rival ship's hull, blasting splinters across the air like shrapnel confetti. Turns out they weren't blasting cannonballs at all. Giant slobs of black paint were splattering across the enemy's tower like a chaotic redesign. A crewmate erupts in pure joy after landing the direct hit, completely beside themselves that they actually pulled it off. Genia flashes a confident smirk, orders them to keep their course, and then drives straight into the attack. That win lasts no time at all. Her eyes snap wide with pure shock at what hits her next. On the enemy ship, that cat-eared officer is still standing. Yet somehow every trace of paint has already disappeared. Without even a breath to spare, Genia blasts her crew with a furious scream. "Get down! Now!" Her command slams in right as the ship's main mast tears apart and crashes onto the deck. This is just the start. This once cheering crewmate is now losing his mind, screaming at the top of his lungs while barely twisting out of the crashing wreckage. In the blink of an eye, the Golden Lynx is finished dead in the water, smoking and torn to pieces. On the rival ship, their captain throws himself into action, barking for a damage report and demanding to know if everyone's still standing. Alone on her own deck, Genius admits she dropped every guard straight into their trap. Meanwhile, her rival is stealing the spotlight, soaking up the cheers from his crew like it's his main character moment. He smirks and tells her, "I knew you'd clock my move up front," then reveals he'd been setting up the strike from behind the whole time. His big reveal hit like a punch. He'd bolted hidden cannons into the stern, and they were the perfect answer to her aggressive flanking. An Academy official strides up and calls out, practically giddy with relief, "No one died in the attack." His relief crashes fast because with a grim stare, he insists this is the absolute worst outcome for her. With their mast and hull shattered by that final volley, the Golden Lynx is done for, officially out of the fight. The ship's crippled, and the helmsman grabs Ginya's attention. "We're just sitting ducks again, getting shredded by their fire." Her whole crew is in full panic mode, sprinting across the deck like the world's ending, utter chaos everywhere. One of her mates blurts out what they're supposed to do, but Ginya just keeps sweating like it's the end of the world. She grips a tiny orb in her fist and admits her whole plan was never glory. It was just to stall the clock until she could steal the win. But with them already dead, that caught water is doomed. Getting it out of the way is only a countdown now. The villagers are freaking out, realizing they don't even have real cannons to fire back with. That's when the yard worker points out that their weapons were nothing but fancy paint guns, and they're completely useless now. Even the Harpy snaps, snatching a crewmate in full-blown, steam-roaring frustration. A crewmate tightens his fist, rage blazing as he realizes their situation is completely hopeless. He erupts into a full-on rant about hunting down some trash. He can turn into a weapon, anything, no questions asked. And that's when Genius hits the jackpot, straight up unleashes a brilliant, absolutely unhinged idea. And yeah, the garbage part is real. Her first mate just freezes, staring at her with total confusion after that sudden cryptic outburst on the rival ship. A lookout leans into his spyglass, completely baffled by the sight staring back at him, because Genius's crew is frantically shoving the busted mast over the side of their ship, trying to keep it from destroying everything. They just shove the entire mountain of heavy wreckage straight into the sea. Pure, bold, desperate gamble. Her rival's captain clocks it right away. She's shedding weight to crank up her speed. He smirks when he clocks her whole plan. She's just going to sprint past him until the time limit runs out. And it's actually working. The Golden Light and the Link start yanking themselves away from the naval vessel. A crewmate shouts her name, and Ginya shoots back a confident thumbs up, like she owns the moment. With steel in her eyes, she tells her crew, "Hold on just a little longer," and drives them to push forward. Genius suddenly jerked back, startled by a weird buzzing roar crawling out from her own hand. It's a magical communications scroll. And just as she's in the middle of a life-or-death battle, someone decides now is the perfect time to call her. Across the field, her rival smirks and needles her, asking like she's better than everyone, whether she's actually enjoying this little chase. He plants himself on his deck, smirking as his ship finally barrels in and closes the gap. With those Golden Lynx mangled and smoking, it's only a countdown now. Someone's going to sweep in and take them down. Her rivals smirk that she only tried to burn the clock because her ship is basically dead weight right now. Genius just stands there in stunned silence, worry twisting her face as he keeps talking. He just calls it like it is. Those weapons are a complete joke, and their defeat is locked in. Washa told him to sink them, but he's feeling generous, so instead of killing trash, he lets them live. Grand offer, surrender right now, abandon ship, and he'll let you all live. With her face swallowed by shadow, Genia grips the communicator and steels herself as she processes his ultimatum. This guy just goes on, absolutely certain he's won, while her hope crumbles into pure despair. Then Genia smirks and tells him, "I've got weapons right there under the ship too." Like he's just flipped the whole game. Her rival is totally lost. She just keeps repeating the words like a broken record, not getting a single thing. Right in their way, floating there like a warning, was all the wreckage they'd already dumped. It's a colossal knot of warped wood, toppled barrels, and splintered debris, an airborne minefield packed with pure junk. One of his lookout spots of what they ditched has turned into a huge, twisted block of trouble. This rival captain totally snaps, screaming at the top of her lungs, furious at what she thinks she's doing with all that garbage. And honestly, it's genius. Genius just calmly tells him, "Get ready. You're about to find out exactly what it does." Then she snaps at her gunner's lock on and blasts the trash drifting right beneath the enemy ship. The Golden Lynx's cannons scream to life, blasting a volley of literal garbage straight at the floating wreckage. Everything crashes into the water at once, detonating in a violent chain reaction. Debris rockets everywhere like it's exploding from the inside. Her rival gets soaked to the bone, screaming that this is just futile resistance. Down on the deck, his crew just stares up in pure shock as debris starts raining from above. Because Genius aimed to blast the water into an explosion, then hurled the wreckage straight onto their ship's mark with it. Suddenly, the enemy crew gets slammed flying barrels and shattered planks raining down on them out of nowhere even. Even the captain gets nailed, screaming that it's straight up a rain of trash. One of his unlucky crewmates gets slammed flat by a runaway barrel that screams out of control in sheer panic. And Genius refuses to back off, barking out a second volley right away to crush the enemy under non-stop pressure. A fresh barrage smashes the water, blasting a whole new wave of wreckage straight at them. Their captain slams down on his knees, whining that they can't move a single step with all this trash piled up. His monologue gets yanked to a brutal stop as a bottle smashes straight into his face, poetry in the worst way. And then it hits him. She didn't toss that mass for speed at all. She dumped it like ammo, round after round. Right in the middle of all the chaos, Genius's crew member pulls out a magical octopus card and slams it into action. It's a deck packed with unconscious sailors, all buried under a mountain of junk, like a nightmare that swallowed them whole. On the communicator, Gina smugly leans in and lays out her brutal garbage strategy to her rival. This crew, trained for brutal broadsides, was suddenly hit from the sky and attack from above that totally blindsided them. Her first mate can't even form words. He's straight up stunned, shouting that she cooked up the most unhinged plan imaginable. She tips her hat and straight up says she got the idea to turn her own crew's trash into a weapon, and her first mate can only throw a huge thumbs up, stunned out of his mind by his captain. Her rival slams to his knees with the communicator clutched in his hand, stuck there replaying the humiliating loss to that nobody garbage. Crouched in the trash, he admits there was absolutely no way to foresee that wild, senseless stunt. His whole crew lies unconscious under heaps of wreckage, and he's left there stewing, getting beaten up by literal sea trash after all this. Pride in tatters, he can't even force out a laugh at how utterly pathetic this all has become. Ginia and her first mate lean in and let him sit there, simmering in his own garbage-fueled defeat for a moment, but she isn't finished yet. Over the communicator, she leans in and drops the last thing she needs to tell him. He just shot her the question what she wanted. Like he thought she'd keep bragging, and he was probably setting himself up for another round of her smug little show. Instead, Genius grins and thanks him for flipping Wash's orders and for aiming his attack magic on purpose, like he meant to miss. That rival captain's eyes bulge open. He's been totally caught with everything laid bare. She tells him the cannons could have wiped them out, but he chose his aim carefully. He wanted them crippled, not dead. This proves he didn't toss his soldier's pride aside just to blindly obey orders. With a bright smile, she praises him as an honorable soldier and declares him her fiercest rival, pure respect hanging in the air. He slams the communicator shut, totally rattled by everything she just said. With his head in his hands, he finally gets it. She's been reading every move of his, down to that secret act of mercy. His crewmates hoist him back up, and when they realize their loss seals their fate, they all accept the truth. Every single one of them is getting expelled from the academy. But he reassures them, saying he'll take the blame himself and go straight to Washa to report. He drops his weapon on the ground, then declares straight to everyone that wiping out that genius was all on him. Then he snatches a white flag and declares loud and clear that he'll take the expulsion hit alone. Right then and there, he lifts the white flag of surrender just like that. The battle is officially over. Genius and her crew can only gape as the white flag shoots up like the battle is suddenly over. This rival captain keys the communicator with Washa and, without even trying to hide it, basically admits Jinya's fresh off the graduation rope and he paid the price. Meanwhile, Jinya and her whole crew are going absolutely ballistic, throwing a victory celebration like they just crushed every last obstacle. Now that the battle's done, both ships drift side by side beneath a flag of truce. Her first mate bursts with pure joy, pumps his fist, and roars her name like he's won everything. Genius's eyes go glassy with emotion, and he humbly admits it all took a whole team pure class. She snaps her gaze to her rival's ship where he's standing there at the railing like he owns the whole sea. He just stares back with his unshakable calm, like he's made peace with whatever's coming, ready to face the fallout, but then his face snaps into shock as he jerks his gaze upward at whatever just appeared. He's back on the line with Washa, and the look on his face says the news is bad. On the other end, Washa coldly bites back, reminding him of the deal fail against the pirates, and you get kicked out. This rival captain is shaking like a leaf, terrified to the core of what his commander's wrath will do to him. He tries to argue his way through the deal, but you can tell he's really itching to tack on his own condition. He spun around and snapped that the blame is all on him, only the captain carries that failure. He pleads with Washa to kick him out and to leave his whole crew completely out of the punishment. Wash shuts it down with one brutal word trash, and the whole moment feels colder than ice. This rival captain goes speechless when Washa snaps that the discussion is officially done. Then Washa himself storms onto the deck and announces he's changed his mind. He's backing out of the expulsion. His rival can't do anything but gawk in shock, blurting out his commander's title like it's the last thing he expects to hear. And that's when he spots it. Washer is clutching a weapon, and Mercy is nowhere in sight. His rival's eyes flare wide with pure horror as he finally understands what's really about to happen right because of that asterisk. Right when everything finally started to settle, a third gigantic warship slides in beside them, and suddenly, this mess just exploded into something way more complicated. This rival captain is completely stunned, gaping at his communicator like he can't possibly believe what he's hearing. On those glittering links, Jinya and her first mate can only stare in terror as everything spirals out of control, because Washa's ship suddenly erupts in gunfire, blasting a massive hole straight through his subordinate's vessel. Rage in his throat, the rival captain roars at his crew to hurl themselves into the sea as their ship gets ripped to pieces. A colossal blast erupts, and that naval ship gets utterly erased, wiped out with zero mercy. Jinna and her first mate dug in their heels, bracing hard as a sudden, violent blast ripped through the air and hit them with a shockwave. She shrieks her rival's name, trembling with pure horror at what she just saw. But her first mate snaps, telling her to look at what's happening right now. Washa's warship rips through the ruins, and those golden links are the last target still standing. After its last victim crumbled, the massive vessel snaps its focus straight onto them, right on the deck. Washa himself stands there, absolutely unhinged like the commander who's about to kick off round 2 any second. Jinna and her crew spot it instantly. Washa's personal flagship, and yeah, they're totally, utterly screwed. Meanwhile, the rival captain clutches onto floating debris, clinging to survival by a hair after the explosion. Wash just goes off on a rant, screaming that expulsion is way too soft for anyone who dirties his hands. He jabs a finger at Genius, snaps his fingers, and roars that she's not getting away. His ship drops a whole row of magical cannons into position, primed to end this the right way once and for all. One of his subordinates skids up in a panic, then blurts a question at his commander. This poor guy blurts out, "Is it really okay to do this in a mock battle?" Right in front of a former admiral's subordinate, and you can feel the tension spike. Washa just lays a hand on his shoulder, and suddenly you feel it, like, "Set up," sharpens in the air, draining the next bit of your energy. Washa leans in and tells his subordinate, "Yeah, it's a necessary evil to stop the pirates," delivering some wide-eyed for the greater good speech. This poor guy can barely choke out a terrified yes because going toe-to-toe with a completely unhinged man-bird is the kind of argument that ends your career for good. As soon as the pep talk ends, Wash's flagship fires off a full-on magical blitz, blasting straight into the golden links. Meanwhile, the rival captain and his crew are scrambling to stay afloat, fighting for breath as their own ship's wreckage tries to swallow them. He stares in pure terror, realizing that Genius's crew is falling apart because of him. The Golden Lynx gets torn to pieces. Explosions roar across its deck, and its sails get ripped apart. From the water, her rival snatches his communicator and roars for the Genius to sprint because she's in real trouble and needs saving right now. Genius snapped, refusing point-blank no way in hell she was walking away, leaving him to die. She finally gets it. This isn't about him anymore. Washa is scrambling to shut down everyone who caught what he did. With a sharp tip of her hat, Genius declares that helping people is the pride of her pirate crew, and they're not backing down for a second. Her rival freezes in stunned silence, utterly shaken by her reckless, suicidal bravery. Her courage hits like a hammer. Her first mate is in full panic mode, shouting that the ship can't survive another hit like that. Right then, her communicator snaps back to life with a buzz, and it's Washa himself calling. From the other end, the commander smirks and needles her, asking condescendingly if she's really enjoying her little pirate game. Genius just watches and listens, and the moment he kicks off his villain monologue, her face hardens like stone. He muses he figured she'd bolt, but he's thankful she's staying right in his sights, an easy target. Her eyes flare with rage as the truth finally clicks. She realizes just how cruel he really is. Down to the bone. Washa smirks and says that since she's staying put, he can wipe up his mess way easier because it means her rival is still there. While her ship gets hammered again, he fires back, asking what it feels like to realize her heroics are only delivering everyone straight to death. With a truly bone-chilling grin, he swears that her filthy pride will blast all of them across the sea like trash. Genius is totally rattled, stammering that his entire speech is dead wrong. Her first mate jumps in, reminding her dumping trash in the sea is wrong, and it's a perfectly timed callback. Genius snaps her fist shut around the magic seal, and her resolve hardens in the blink of an eye. She whips around to her crew-winged ally included, and snaps out that she's got a plan. Her first mate shoots up a magical item and begs the whole crew to throw their strength behind him. Right now, the Golden Lynx is getting wrecked smoke blasts out of its deck like the ship's about to melt. Washa erupts into a cruel cackle from his flagship, laughing at them as their only move is to sink. He barks for his crew to fire again, hell-bent on erasing them from the ocean once and for all. A fresh barrage crashes into the water beside Genius's already wrecked ship. The hull gets blasted open, splinters whip through the air as the ship starts tearing apart, but then boom, an enormous cage-like contraption plummets from the sky and slams straight toward Washa's ship. Now their winged crewmate isn't just fighting, he's becoming a living kite, gliding over the battlefield and daring the chaos below. Washa and his subordinate just gawked upward, completely stunned like, what kind of fresh nightmare was this supposed to be? Down in the water, her rival and his whole crew roar with cheers from their lifeboats. That only fuels Washa's rage. He roars at his crew to sink that pathetic raft, because Jinna and her first mate are now strapped onto a tiny wooden platform, skimming across the waves at full speed. She's barking orders at her winged crewmate, screaming for a punishing 70-degree turn. This winged ally snaps into a sharp bank, yanks the line tight, and tears the raft around at breakneck speed. They basically turn their crewmate into a living engine that powers a high-speed water-skiing raft. Now they're just circling Washa's warship, snapping loops around that massive monster of a vessel, an utterly insane counter-tactic. Washer is completely unraveling, trying to crack what Genius's wild, messed-up plan is hiding. She just locks in, stares straight ahead, sweat pouring down, because this is a 1-in-a-million chance, and she knows exactly what's on the line. In a blink-and-you-miss-it flashback, she flashes that grin and unveils her master plan to the crew, yanking the tarp aside like it's showtime. Beneath it all, a gigantic, broken magic cannon sits there, and she snaps that they're done taking it, lying down, because they're about to blast back with it. Her winged ally and another crewmate stare in total disbelief at this brutally broken-looking plan. Genius leans in and says, "If we can fire this, we'll wipe out Washa's whole fleet." But then a tiny turtle crewmate blurts out the truth. The cannon's smashed, and they've got 0 spare parts. With a cocky smirk, Genius declares, "Oh yeah, we do, because of course she's got a plan for that." She tells everyone her rival's cannon is built from the perfect materials, so she can steal the fix for her own. And thanks to Washa's little temper tantrum, those missing parts are now drifting around the sea like they're perfectly lost. This winged crewmate is sent to blast out and snatch every last component from the wreckage. A new crewmate will step in, unleash her powers to steer the flyer, and make sure every incoming attack gets dodged. A little golem ally gets the order to prep the cannon mount with every ounce of magic it can shove into the barrels. Once the pieces are within reach, her first mate taps into his own expertise and drags them in for her. He snaps his magic bracelet on, and it literally yanks a cannon barrel straight out of the ocean and remakes it in real time. A wrecked piece whips through the air and, with impossible magic, snaps back together onto their cannon base. Back in the present, their winged ally yanks the raft forward, and now it's decked out with a fully recharged super cannon. From way above, you see the whole ridiculous mess unfold. This girl gets strapped in and becomes the engine that powers a floating cannon platform. Washa peers through a spyglass, and it finally clicks those salvage parts aren't random at all. They're pieces to forge a weapon. He slams his spyglass shut in rage, utterly humiliated that their trash-picking counterattack just blew up his plans. Washa snaps at last fed up and orders his crew to dump every last spark of magic into the main cannon. He finally cracked it. They're hunting down parts, and that one game-changing piece is staring right back at him in his line of fire. With a totally unhinged grin, he decides to vaporize them the instant they bite the bait. One of his men blurts that their escort ship is blocking the route, and Washa just smirks like it's a perfectly useful blind spot. With that command, he unleashes his flagship's cannon erupts into a massive magical blast. A massive beam of raw energy tears across the ocean, barreling straight toward the wreckage. It's charging straight for their winged crewmate, still pretending to be a living kite engine. Genius is horrified. He's screaming that he's slaughtering his own men just to reach them. But her winged ally snarls through her clenched teeth and reaches out, eyes locked on her goal. She slams the magic ring to life, locking on to the exact cannon section Washa was using as bait. This salvaged chunk rockets out of the water and streaks straight toward her, yanked by raw magic. Washa's blast crashes into the ocean at the last possible second, too late to hit her, and too late to catch what he was aiming for. A towering blast of water erupts from the impact, screaming just how close they came to disaster. From the wreckage, the rival crew can only lock up stunned, speechless, staring at how they barely escaped death. Washa is laughing like a maniac, loving every second of this full-blown chaos. He flings his arms wide, smugly crowing, "Nice try," but in the end, garbage is still garbage. But then the sky cracks open, and through the pounding rain, a familiar silhouette finally steps into view. Because their super cannon is fully assembled now, and with a genius and a mermaid-like ally on standby, it's about to blast. Jinna whips her gaze back to Washa's ship, and her face practically screams, "Payback's about to hit." Her winged crewmate gives the exact same look. Every last one of them is locked in for this final shot. Her mermaid-like ally locks eyes with her, pure determination on full display. Now it's everything or nothing. Washa, though, is losing his cool over what just happened. With a furious scream, Genius barks the only order that counts. The mare, their glorious junkie pin cannon blasts into life, charging a gigantic sphere of raw, pure magical energy. Then a massive beam slams out of the sky, shrieking over the water, and straight for Washa's flagship. That shot's recoil slams into them so hard it nearly catapults them right off their little raft. It crashes straight into the warship's hull, ripping through the sails and shattering the main mast. A massive explosion rips through the heart of the ship, swallowing it in a roaring fireball, crackling with lightning. This blast keeps tearing the vessel to pieces, blasting splinters and wreckage flying in every direction. A chain of explosions detonates across the deck, shredding the warship from the inside out until it's completely obliterated. One of Washa's men yells at the top of his lungs, swearing the ship is finished to his commander. Washer can only stare, his hands shaking violently as his beloved custom-built flagship gets smashed to pieces. He was planning to unleash pirate treasure to upgrade it and crush the Navy with it, taking control for good. And now, he's in full-on meltdown mode, shouting that some pathetic raft actually beat him. In a burst of pure cowardice, he tries to flee the ship straight up, abandoning his own men behind him. His whole crew gets shoved into lifeboats as their massive ship grinds down and disappears under the waves. But the rival captain's crew is going absolutely feral, screaming and cheering like pure genius just lit up the world. Even her rival freezes dead in her tracks, whispering her name under her breath, stunned at how she just tore through everything. Jinya and her first mate clapped fists like they just survived the impossible because they absolutely did. This whole crew piles in together, cheering that victory like a storm powered by teamwork, raw guts, and a whole mountain of garbage thrown in for good measure. After the battle, the first mate snaps that they can't keep going with a water distiller this small. Now that the crew keeps growing, they need a bigger one fast. Genius just shrugs and casually drops that her dad's ship has a magical auto distiller they can use anytime. Then she keeps talking. Her first mate freezes in shock when he sees she can use magic tech, but to her it's just a plain old household appliance. The rest of the crew goes wild with celebration, while the genius just stands there, utterly baffled at how crushingly poor they're living. In a sudden flashback, a cat-eared woman stretches and mutters that the winged ally still doesn't trust her. This winged ally swoops in way too close, leaning in to ask if the cat girl is even hearing a word she's saying. He snaps awake from that dream, and the turtle perched on his shoulder nudges his memory. Jinna's a total cat person. This sparks a memory of someone going way too deep into cat sniffing until even the winged ally is horrified. Then we flash to the first mate's past. He wielded his recycling powers to rebuild his firebombed hometown from the ashes. He's taken it on himself, tearing down disasters piece by piece and rebuilding entire buildings until the whole neighborhood is back on its feet. His turtle buddy clocks it, and Fretchy's pushing himself way too hard just to keep everyone covered. But he waves it away, swearing he's fine while his body screams he's 1 second from collapsing. Meanwhile, this long-nosed official is absolutely losing it over Jinya's application. Rage boils in his veins because a pirate's daughter actually has the audacity to apply to their prestigious naval academy. Her father stays calm as he tells her the truth. Her training will turn her into a massive asset for the entire nation. A brilliant younger prodigy lights up with excitement, fully ready to join the Navy and power up. Back in the present, the townspeople he saved are rallying to help him build a ship. One of them steps forward. One of the townspeople crosses the line, grilling him like, "So, you'll take responsibility for this genius, right?" He boldly claims he matched her passion with his own, then the whole crowd freezes in pure shock. The whole crowd instantly reads it as a scorching romance because this misunderstanding is wildly, spectacularly wrong. We slam straight into a flashback. His first mate's mother is in full panic, screaming his name like her life depends on it, because our boy is sprawled in the rubble, staring up at her like his mind is completely blown. She darts to his side, scoops him up in her arms, and blurts, "What just happened?" Later in bed, he's just frozen in place, staring at his magic bracelet like it's the key to a disaster he can't wrap his head around. He admits he was just a curious kid, messing around with his brand new powers, trying them out with a friend. So he flicked his recycling magic onto a garbage cart, and everything spiraled out of control fast, meaning he built a gigantic junk cart contraption that's now jammed in front of the town gate. From above, you can see it plain his tiny experiment has slammed a full barricade across the main road. Every townspeople, his mom included, stands there locked in absolute bone-chilling silence, too terrified to even breathe. That sudden shock turns cold fast, because whispers spread about his dangerous power, and then... But that kid still doesn't understand why is everyone around him suddenly terrified. This crowd surges in on them, demanding answers about what he did to their town. With a sharp gasp, he jerks awake in bed because that nightmare was so real it still clings to him. Unless someone's there, one of his winged crewmates standing guard over him while he sleeps. He clamps his hands to his head, and those brutal memories from that day hit him like they just happened. That nightmare dragged up every time they shoved him aside, sneering that his rare gift was a curse. But when he looks up, his eyes catch a winged ally hovering over him, worry shining clear and real. She flashes him a dazzling smile and cheerfully calls out, wishing him a bright good morning. Our boy is totally rattled, blurting, "What are you even doing in my room?" His turtle companion blurts out that she was downright frantic, terrified he'd never wake up. Our boy is totally wiped out after the battle, knocked out cold on the raft, right beside his sleeping crewmate. His hand twitches, and then like a storm breaking his memory starts creeping back in piece by piece. Back in bed, he closes his eyes and loudly thanks his winged ally for keeping watch over him while he was gone. And the second he gives her that gentle head pat, she just melts so wholesome it hurts. His turtle buddy clears its throat and, boom, about to spill some seriously important news on them. After a shadowy official declares their mock battle a smashing success, they're handed a privateer license on the spot. His first mate can finally breathe. He's throwing a full-on celebration because Genius is now a legit licensed captain at last. He imagines her in full pirate glory stepping up to become a legend just like her dad. But the turtle sadly tells him that once her dream finally comes true, his time in his role is over. That thought slams into him like a freight train, and he just freezes there, staring into nothing. So the winged ally has to spell it out for him, and that means he can't stay with Jinya anymore. He's utterly frozen in shock, staring at them like, "Wait, this is seriously where we split up?" Trying to act noble, he shrugs and admits it couldn't be helped. Jinya finally got what she'd been chasing. But then the truth hits. He's a disgraced criminal with nowhere to go, and if he stays, it could destroy her. Even stepping onto her crew meant one slip could get that hard-earned privateer license yanked straight out by the Navy. The room's mood crashes hard with the turtle, even hiding under the covers. Yeah, it's rough. With fresh resolve burning in his chest, he swings out of bed and jabs a finger at his packed bag. He snatched up his things like there was no turning back, and you can tell he's already decided exactly what happens next. He vows he'll forge an entirely new maritime city so he can return and face her again as her equal. And the winged ally just grins, fully locked in with his wildly over-the-top new master plan. With his new goal locked in, our guy wastes no time and dives straight into action, vowing he'll rebuild everything from the ground up. Meanwhile, Jinya stands alone on a towering stone pier, staring out at the dark, restless water. She whispers her father's name under her breath, and you can see the weight of something massive crushing down inside her. It looks like she's desperately trying to gaslight herself into believing this is exactly what she wanted all along. Right then, the first mate snaps his eyes on her as he hauls a cart stacked high with wood. He shoots her a question about why she's way out here, and the winged ally peeks from behind him like they're listening too. Genius snaps to attention, fully stunned, and addresses him with an insanely formal title. He drops to her level and leans in, asking straight up what's weighing on her mind. Her hands are clasped so tight they practically shake. Yeah, that's pure nerves, and the story hasn't even started. After a beat, she finally gathers the nerve and fires off a question that comes out of nowhere. She's desperate to know can she tag along on his journey. This demand absolutely overloads both him and his winged partner. Our boy is left totally frozen mouth agape, brain buffering because what he just heard makes zero sense. A whole flock of birds burst into the sky like it's on cue, because of course it is. He finally demanded to know what she meant, reminding her she just earned her privateer license, but the moment that slipped out, the rest of his words caught in his throat. But Jinya just stares right back, and that unshakable resolve hits like steel. She tells him, loud and clear, that it was all because of him. He's the reason she managed to reclaim her father's ship, and now, as the official heir to the Sea Cat name, she's gonna crush straight through and finally make her dad's dream come true. He asks what that dream even means, and she blushes hard before admitting it's her brand new mission. Her father's biggest dream still burned in his chest. He'd wanted to march to the kingdom and demand a massive garbage cleanup, but it never happened. She tells you her dad, the Sea Cat, was basically a state-backed pirate, rolling in official support like it was payday. His ultimate mission was to rally the whole nation to help wipe out the ocean pollution choking their home. Our boy just stares, eyes locked, soaking up the huge bombshell about her family's past. But Jania's voice cuts out mid-sentence, and her face drops. Turns out the plan just hit the kind of snag everyone saw coming. In a flashback, she barges into a cramped office right after graduation and pitches her wild, grand idea to a stuffy naval official. And that dude oozes condescension as he tells her, cute idea, but it'll never work. Like it's already hopeless. Genius is absolutely shattered when her life stream goes down in a single instant, completely dead. Then this official spills the kingdom's filthy secret in front of everyone. No mercy, turning his back on her like she never mattered. Turns out their nation's insane industrial might comes paired with a waste disaster so huge it's choking everything. So they keep dumping all their trash into the sea, and it's getting worse every single year. A whole council of greasy old corrupt guys just cares about their bottom line, never a single thought for the environment. Anyone who tried to blow the whistle on this mess vanished out of nowhere. Quiet, clean, and way too suspicious. This official flat out told her to quit, and in the process smashed the younger Jinya's spirit to pieces. Back in the present, she lets out a sweet little rice grin and admits she'd always expected rejection. This whole conspiracy is hitting our boy like a tidal wave. There's no way he can take it all in at once. He demands to know why she's quitting when kingdom help is the only lifeline she's got. She admits it under her breath. Until the day she meets him. Traveling together cracked open her eyes to a brand new perspective on the exact problem she lays out. She watched him smash the garbage problem straight in the face and couldn't shake the question of why someone like him had been exiled. Then she finally clocked it. This garbage-choked world doesn't need another government handout. It needs him. Our boy is totally rattled, blurting out, "Trust me, I'm not that special." But Jenna quietly shakes her head, hands clasped behind her back like she's holding back a storm. She tells him his recycling power basically saved her, breathing fresh life into her after the world treated her like trash. So now she's decided she'll be the one to help him chase and win his dream. Her story squirms with nerves as she blurts out, "Please, are you sure you're going to be okay with that?" Because she's done holding back and she's ready to confess right here, right now, so she can stay with him for good. The first mate just freezes, totally stunned as he hears her request. Genius just stares up at him, eyes locked, like she's daring him to finally give the answer. As he scrambles for the right words, his winged ally just watches from the side, eyes locked on him. She's ready to step in then. A roar rips out of the ocean and stops her cold. He whips around, and there it is. A ship roaring toward them, packed with faces he knows all too well. It was the townspeople he saved standing on the deck, waving like crazy, cheering his name like he was their hero. Both he and Jinya are left speechless as the whole village marches in and gathers around them. They ended up borrowing a Navy ship and yanked the wreckage from her dad's old vessel back to shore. Out on the pier, the crew shouts that they've got more than enough supplies to build homes for every single person. He just stands there, staring at that mountain of recycled parts, completely crushed by how huge it all is. Our boy can barely even breathe through it, staring at them like, "Wait, you really mean everyone?" That lead townsman flashed a huge thumbs up and shouted that his passion lit a fire in everyone because they all ended up joining him. That sudden pop-in of a whole fan club just froze him completely, like his voice got stolen. Then one of the girls finally drops the truth she told everyone he was bailing, and the whole crew decided, "All right, we're going too." Still stunned, he turns to Jinya and demands, "Are you really sure about all this?" Because his thoughts snap back to that ominous prince, shunned, hated, and feared by everyone. Panicked, he shoots out a warning. If she sticks with him, she'll drag them all into the sights of wanted criminals. But the town's top guy just whacks him on the back and snaps, "Cut the crap." This dude just cackles, claiming everybody's sea cats now. And he absolutely doesn't care a bit about being called a pirate. Genius just stares at him, stunned by this sudden blazing loyalty that hits like a punch. She leans in and tells him, "Every single person in this room feels it the same way I do." Another villager blurts out that this trash world won't be saved by the kingdom, it'll be fixed by him. This leader nods with full conviction, and his belief lights a spark in everyone, giving them a real reason to hope again. Jinya drives home the final strike and barks that no one here sees him as a curse. His eye snaps wide as the shock of being accepted finally crashes over him. Relief hits him like a wave, and a slow, triumphant smile finally breaks across his face as the weight of his past lifts for good. Genius steps in, thanking everyone for her, and you can see it in the way her hands clamp together. Pure, overflowing gratitude. Then she whips around to face him with this massive grin like, "So, is that a yes?" He shoots his hand out, and his magic bracelet ignites, blazing to life as, arm up, he steps forward and officially welcomes every single one of them into the crew. And just like that, the job kicks off as someone steps onto a plank and walks it like a tightrope over salvaged wreckage. Everyone jumps in, hauling supplies as their winged ally darts across the sky above them. While they take a quick water break, the turtle companion waddles over and drops a seriously important question. The turtle snaps that if they're really about to build an entire new nation, then they better come up with a name for now. Our boy rubs his head like it's a puzzle, desperately brainstorming a name that actually sounds worthy of their brand new nation. And then it hits him like a classic light bulb moment, pure inspiration exploding out of nowhere. With a grin, he pitches super hyper fun Max Recycle Nation. A name so hilariously awful it's basically art. This dude is radiating straight up, no-holds-barred confidence like he's totally fearless about this absolutely terrible idea. The genius and his wing buddy throw out their horrifying original names, and one of them even screams "Living Dead," then our guy's soul just rockets right out of his body. This brainstorming session detonates into full chaos, and he's clutching his head, screaming in agony. Just then, the winged ally swoops in and says, "Forget to call it no after me, no kill." Even the genius and the turtle are totally buying into this cleaner, calmer plan. A massive grin bursts across his face. Yeah, Noah is super easy to remember, and the name actually sounds great. Arms raised high, he finally declares it, officially sealing his decision. With their brand new floating city looming ahead of them, he braces himself and gears up to drop the biggest announcement of his life. With one bold declaration, he seized the moment and announced that their maritime nation would now be called Noah. Genius can't stop staring, his tiny raft turned into this huge ark. He leans in, confirms it's almost finished, and then we cut back to Rose Arcane, just 5 years old, who cries out for her prince like she truly believes he's coming. And right there, we catch a much younger Nosal Zedra, just 14 years old, fully rattled and totally flustered. Turns out little Rose sticks to him like glue everywhere. Even into the bathroom, no boundaries at all. She just blows out her cheeks, smug as ever, and keeps clinging like she owns the place. She goes full tackle on him, screaming that he's being mean just for wanting a moment alone. These two are an absolute disaster, thrashing arms, screaming at the top of their lungs right outside the castle walls. A few years later, the 11-year-old steps up and tells His Highness, straight up, that he should go study at the Imperial Academy. Flashback, there's a 20-year-old noble, dead serious, hammering away at some wind-powered contraption. Turns out he's trapped in a gigantic junkyard, and Rose is shouting that a cursed prince has zero chance, trying is pointless. Zeus's voice booms in his head, telling him to step back from the throne because he's not king material, and the real pros should rule. Rose casually blurts out that he's got a truly rotten personality, no sugarcoating, no excuses. Then she starts laying down a fiery lecture. Dignity isn't earned through effort, it's passed down, inherited like blood. He tightens his grip on that invention, fed up with the whole conversation burning his patience to the bone. With his back to her, he snaps, "Get out," warning that if anyone spots her with him, her reputation will be shattered. But Rose snaps back instantly, shouting that she'll do whatever she wants, and it completely throws him for a loop. She flashes a wink and declares her new mission. She's going to knock dignity and wisdom into him until he finally earns the title of prince. In the present day, the colossal, fully built Ark Noah looms at the pier like a king returning to his throne. Noko is locked in on a sheet of paper, while Jinya looms over his shoulder in full pirate gear. This whole gang is huddled around him, peppering him with questions. What's got him so deep in thought? Turns out he's getting completely mobbed by villagers, who swarm him and scream their demands for the new nation's laws. Clutching a fat stack of requests, he grumbles to Jinya that this grind is way worse than the imperial studies he dodged. Then he decides to kick things off with the easy job staring down a request a mom sent in for her young son. This kid's drawing dares for a demon cannon in his own room to blast the bad guys, honestly. It's a brilliant, rock-solid plan. Nokol just sits there, frozen, with a totally blank stare at the paper, while Jinya watches him like something's about to snap. She then leans in and says, "With Noah this big on the move, the kingdom's bound to spot them any day now." The moment the next military showdown hits him, he grips his head and realizes they've got to lock in a defense plan like right now. But the winged ally strides forward, hinting that its own powers might be the exact key to stopping any outside threat. Her winged ally beams as she declares she's finally ready to try out her freshly revived power, while a glowing sigil floats right above her head. She dubs it a stealth barrier, and the moment she flips the switch, the whole arc snaps into invisibility. But the boost only lasts around 5 seconds before she's completely wiped out, so Ginny declares it totally useless. Noko just stares, totally unimpressed, as her winged ally tells her she has to believe harder, because only then can she hide the entire island from their enemies. Right then, a villager burst in and blurted that the rest of the crew had a few questions lined up for her. And a few turns into a full-on mob pressing in like they own the place, demanding answers about taxes, trade routes, and who's stuck on kitchen duty. That sudden avalanche of bureaucracy shatters Nickel on the spot. He drops like a marionette and slams into the wall hard enough to leave a human-shaped dent. Genius and his winged ally lock eyes on his fallen body, stunned in silence, while he snarls under his breath that he never asked for any of this. Lying on the deck, panic claws at him as the truth hits. He should have studied, like Rose begged him to. The second the winged ally hears the name, he blurts out the million-dollar question, who is Rose? From the floor, Knuckle mutters that she's the girl he yanked out of that brutal garbage landslide. Turns out Rose Arcane is his cousin, and she's a total prodigy, landing a spot as the Prime Minister's aide at just 11 years old. This girl was so magnetic that the crowd worshipped her and even crowned her the Golden Rose. This tiny companion quickly pieces it together. Rose is probably the real reason our boy got exiled. Nokol flips out the second this suggestion hits, while the companion just spells out the obvious: everyone liked her way more than they ever liked him. He's so deep in denial, he starts swearing he doesn't even have a cousin that's supposed to magically fix everything. But his mind keeps snapping back to that accident, wondering if Rose is still okay after all this time. Right then, a girl in a wildly familiar, high-ranking naval uniform pops up in front of them. She asks Nokul if he truly doesn't recognize her, and he just stares at her like his brain has fully short-circuited. Meanwhile, in some tavern off the map, pirates traded wild gossip about what went down after Noquel's exile, while a genius sat in the shadows, listening in from the bar. Back at the capital, a court official froze in pure shock as he delivered some brutal news about Rose. The story whips over to Arcane Castle, where it looks like a massive political storm is about to break. A wild person slams their fist down and shatters a whole stack of documents in a burst of pure rage. A minister named Short has totally snapped. He's demanding answers, yelling, "What is going on?" He's snapping at a masked naval officer, blood-hot with rage, because the no-name she pushed on him is now wrecking his reputation. This dude snaps into a full meltdown, clutches his face, and whines like everything about this is absolutely unbearable. A calm voice suddenly cuts through his tantrum, and it demands to know what the shouting is all about. Noquel's brother Euster, the second prince, stares at it like it's nothing, completely unimpressed. Sherd snaps upright at once, drenched in sweat because royalty has arrived to watch his little stunt. He dips into a deep bow, acting like the whole thing is no big deal, like he's only getting worked up over something small. But Zoster wastes no time. He comes straight out and demands, "Tell me it's true. Rose really has gone missing." Sheer dashes in and tells him not to worry, swearing he's already got everything under control. His brilliant master plan was simple. He'd track down the Lord of Las Vega Island and rope in Goldor, that shady masked dude with a name that sounded like trouble. Zeusra's eyes narrow instantly. He recognizes the face right away. The same infamous human trafficker everyone fears. Goldor's stacked fortune and ruthless connections will bulldoze the path to Rose. This logic says it'll make finding her easy. With one quick flick of the handle, Zeus comes back in an instant, then turns and strides off, leaving her to fend for herself. The prince is gone, and Sherd flashes an absolutely sinister grin like he's about to unleash something terrifying. He's not simply hunting for Rose, he's betting on the trafficker to drag out her exact location. Honestly, he's low-key praying she gets bought and sold. That's the easiest way for him to get what he wants. A flashback rips open his grudge he's been seething ever since, because he's always hated her for standing up for the garbage prince, Nokel. In a flashback, the Sheerd minister snaps at a horrified Rosie, only saved her because her crying was getting on his nerves. She swears nobody sane would ever, under any circumstances, say yes to risking it all and going to rescue an official exile. With a sickening grin, Sheerd lets out a chilling hint that the notorious trafficker, Goldor, might have snatched the prince. He basically tossed her straight onto that guy's ship, fully knowing Goldor doesn't see people as anything but product. And here's his secret wish: Rose getting chained up and sold, because that would make everything fall right into place for him. Back in the present, the naval officer is snapping at the seams, realizing Rose vanished on Las Vega Island of all places. Genius steps in and confirms, yep, that's exactly the same story she caught in that tavern back then. Her hand clenches into a fist, and a wave of rage and steel determination crashes straight through. A lightning flash of memories cuts in. There's that younger, smiling Rose, and suddenly it hits. Everything we're fighting for has a face. Nukel abruptly snaps his entire crew to attention, and the seriousness in his face hits like a punch. He straight up admits that, sure, they have to hammer out laws for Noah, but then he leans in and says he's about to request something brutally, shamelessly selfish. He points at himself and shouts that he'll hit Vegas straight away to rescue Rose right now. But his whole crew shoots back a grin, and every single one of them is ready to jump into the rescue. Genius explodes with fury, swearing the Sea Cats will never ever ignore the human traffickers. Even the winged ally is fired up. She's throwing her full weight behind the mission, drowning in gratitude for their loyalty. Nokel quietly thanks everyone for always having his back. Decision made, bam. A game plank snaps into place, and they rush out right now. Their massive ark, the Noah, rockets toward the infamous Las Vega Island. On deck, Nokel grips the moment and stares hard at the crashing waves, his face carved with grim, unstoppable resolve. And then, bam, a final flashback hits. A young Rose goes in, defending him like a warrior, shouting that he always stood between her and the haters. Noko clenches his bow and declares, "It's my turn to save Rose, just hang on, okay?" The Noah's massive arcer ship now slams through the waves, fully locked in on a no-mistakes rescue mission. Jenny blurts out that they finally hit Las Vega, and Noko is practically shaking with excitement to get ashore. But one of his crewmates snaps it down right away, warning him this won't be that easy. Turns out Las Vega is a luxury trap only the trafficker Goldor approves. If you're not cleared by him, you don't get anywhere near it. And to make matters worse, the whole harbor is packed with armed merchant ships, so a straight-up frontal assault is basically dead on arrival. Nokel's at the edge of his rope, clawing for any way to break onto that heavily guarded island. Even Jinya's face flickered with worry because the brutal weight of their situation finally crashed down on her. Then she suddenly brightens, swearing they've got a plan leaving. Noko stunned. She smirks and cryptically orders him to follow, then drags him into the shadows to unveil her master's jaw-dropping stroke of genius. Their genius, top-tier infiltration plan hinges on one lone barrel drifting out on the open ocean. Nokel's inside now, frozen like every terrible life choice just smacked him in the face. Sweat pours off him nonstop, and this raw, humiliating energy practically screams, "This is too much." Genius struts up and brags about the whole plan to his winged ally, the one he's disguised as, literally like it's trash. This barrel will drift right past security with the rest of the trash, clearing the way for him to reach the island straight ahead. The moment he hits the shore, he'll slip right into the island's crew and start hauling those same barrel after barrel, just like everyone else. From there, all he has to do is slide himself onto the cart and get smuggled straight into Goldor's casino. He has to admit, This plan is solid as a rock. But there's one crucial question he needs answered right now. Our Boyd blurts out right away, "Why am I the one getting shoved in a barrel alone?" Ingenious, she swears she's about to be seasick, then totally proves it by slumping into a pile of clothes, giving herself the perfect "can't do this" excuse. That winged ally blurts out she's clocking out straight up, announcing she's taking a nap and dropping off the stealth mission. Another crewmate bluntly points out the barrel fits just one person, and that truth crushes Nokul's hopes instantly. But Nokal shoves fear aside, psyching himself up being human cargo beats doing absolutely nothing. He finally throws up a fist pump, yelling that he's all in for this insanely dignified plan. Then they straight up boot him off the deck, launching the prince in a barrel that tumbles and rolls as he screams toward the ocean. It slams into the water with a thunderous splash, and just like that, the world witnesses the most humiliating infiltration ever begin. Even with everything on his shoulders, he still leans out and gives a tiny wave goodbye as the Noah crew cheers him on from the deck. Genius frets, but his winged ally flashes pure confidence. "You'll be fine, I promise." And now he's just drifting solo, so perfectly disguised, he blends right in with all the other ocean trash. Inside that barrel, his mind kept clawing back to Rose, and with every second ticking by, his resolve turned iron. He can't even process it, how someone that powerful could get dragged in by a filthy lowlife like Goldor. Suddenly, a sound crashes from above his smile, dies instantly, and he braces himself like impact is seconds away. Only him, he pops the lid and sweeps the island with a tiny spyglass, like he's hunting secrets. Through the chaos, he spots his destination, a huge casino that's basically the beating heart of Las Vegas. On the streets, a wealthy patron rolls in like a king, loudly bragging that money can buy literally anything here. Welcome to Las Vegas, an enormous island resort where every shine is fueled by vice and every shadow hides human trafficking.